The road $10,000 runs through Pocono Raceway, site of round number 8 of 18 on the Nascar iRacing.com Series World Championship. We are here at the Tricky Triangle to contest that 8th round. Tim Terry, Joe Cortez in the booth this evening. Nim Cross down on pit road. Tony Stevens is with his duties with the Jack in the Box Summer Shootout at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. Couldn't be here this evening. Joe, we are getting ready for one of the longest races of the season, albeit not miles-wise, but this Pocono Raceway always seems to sometimes bring out a couple of cautions, and we are going 250 laps here this evening. This could be an exciting race, maybe a little bit of a wild card in this race to $10,000.
Definitely going to be a wild card for a lot of teams. This is a setup that we don't see at all throughout the season, throughout the NASCAR season or the NISWIC season. So this is going to be an anomaly for these guys, and tonight's race is going to be all about position. It's going to be about where you qualify, where you're able to work with your teammates, and where you're able to get in and off of pit lane. As you saw in the Sprint Cup race earlier this weekend, it was all about having that position. Here it's going to be no different. If they continue to hold position and can run with these guys out here, they're going to have a very interesting race, and tonight's race will definitely be a wild card as we continue that race to $10,000.
Going to bring Nim Cross in here as well before we get to the hot lap segment. Nim, this was the site last year, going down into corner number 1. It was Nick Ottinger and Steve Sheehan getting into it, and it lets John Adams get his first win in this series. Do we see a little bit of that? Do we see another first-time winner in this series this season here at Pocono?
Well, one thing I think that's great about Pocono is that anything can happen, and it's very unpredictable. Last season, we saw Nick and Steve get together, and that left the door open for, the new winner, and hopefully this year, we'll have some of those exciting ending like that, and some unpredictability again.
John Adams is back. We have a whole host of drivers that are looking to make a splash in this series this evening, and we'll get to that lineup in just a few moments' time. First, let's walk you through a couple of laps here at the virtual Pocono Raceway. Hot laps coming up with Steve Sheehan and Brian Blackburn.
Hey guys, this is Steve Sheehan. We are at Pocono tonight for 100 laps. It's going to be a really good race in this Gen 6 car. It's actually doing a lot of different things than our previous build did last season, and it's going to be a very exciting race and a very cool segment to do here tonight, so stay tuned. So let's get right into it. I'm coming to the line off turn 3. I'm going to be going about 183 miles per hour. This is a very solid lap with the fixed setup. I'm going to get up to about 205 miles per hour going into turn 1. I'm going to downshift after I enter the corner, and I'm going to downshift very carefully because once I do downshift, it's going to yaw the car out a little bit more once the revs get up and the tires want to spin. I'm going to go down the long back straightaway. This is where we're going to see a lot of passes, a lot of blocking, especially late in the race. Look for a lot of action here. There's no special way to get through these corners. All the corners are different. Going into turn 3 down this short straightaway, we're going to want to get a run on someone and get either outside or inside. If we get outside of them, we want to have our car handling up there towards the darker groove. If not, we're going to handle right around the bottom, downshift in the third, come off turn 3, cross the line at about 182 miles per hour for a very solid lap. Now, side-by-side here is doable. You are going to see it tonight. There is some draft, and we can run side-by-side, especially through turn 1, very, very well. There's a lot of bumps, especially turn 1, that enable that side-by-side to happen because the bumps really make our cars very unpredictable, and we're having to really be extra cautious when we're side-by-side, especially for that car down low. That means that outside line is going to have a little bit of an advantage as long as they're pinching the low car a little bit. So if you see people going side-by-side down the front stretch, expect them to stay that way through turn 1 if they don't want to give up the spot. Now, obviously, for you guys that know Pocono, turn 2, the tunnel turn, is not a good place to be side-by-side. You're going to see cars that get runs on people down the back stretch into the tunnel turn who have the preferred line as soon as they get a fender. And at the same time, you're going to see a lot of blocking going on down the backstretch, especially late in the race, because we know as soon as someone gets that fender low on us coming off turn 1, they have the spot in the tunnel turn, and we're losing at least one spot because we have to slow way down to get down to that low line in order to get through that corner quickly. So expect some blocking even early in the race, but especially late in the race going down the backstretch, because you do not want to be stuck on the high side in the tunnel turn. In the last corner, turn 3, the faster you come off this corner, the faster you're going to go all the way down this long front straightaway here. So expect the cars that are really, really good and able to make passes, the cars that get through turn 3 very well. I know a lot of times, even in real life, if there's one corner that people want to be set up well for, it's turn 3, because the faster they're getting off, it benefits them all the way down the front straightaway, and you can make a lot of gains if you're coming off turn 3 faster than everybody else. So look for the stronger cars to be getting through turn 3 very, very well. I am honestly not sure whether it's going to be high or low. I know I've been running low and downshifting to 3rd. You could see some guys get the high line working and stay in 4th gear. We'll see tonight. Now in 2 weeks we're going to be at Kentucky. This is another bumpy track. I had a very good car here last season, and it was just the bumpiest ride I could ask for out of a car. You really just have to set your car up to hit the bumps properly in order to get around it correctly. Expect a very interesting race next week as well as tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the show, and definitely look for a lot of green flag runs tonight. It is going to be an awesome race, and this Gen 6 car is definitely very, very difficult, so expect some wheeling going on tonight.
And Steve Sheehan, as he mentioned there, the winner in 2011 at this racetrack. And one of only 2 drivers, guys, that has 2 top 10s in the 2 races at this racetrack. Steve finished in position number 6 last year after the run-in with Nick Ottinger. Speaking of Ottinger, 3 wins this season. He is 4th in points behind Tyler Hudson. Prior to the drop in this series, there is one drop in this 18-race series. Essentially, if you're new to this NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, you get to take your worst finish out of the season, and that's what you're left with a point total. Brian Schoenberg, 2nd place in the standings, minus that drop before that drop happens. Marcus Lindsay, Nick Ottinger, and the champ Ray Alfala in position number 5. That other driver to only have 2 top 10 finishes at this racetrack. Mike Conti, Peter Bennett, Brandon Cattell, Adam Gilliland, the Daytona winner, and Steve Sheehan, your top 10. Joe, who are you seeing here that's fairly quick before we set up for this event this evening?
Before we set up for the event this evening, let's take a look at the driver of the 24 machine, Carson McClellan, running in traffic just ahead of 53 seconds. He had a great setup in qualifying. He had a great setup working up through this field. He's currently, with that start time, he's currently 12th in traffic, top on the pole. But I think if he can continue to run well in traffic, if he can keep those cars behind him, he might have the car to beat tonight. Like I said earlier, this track is all about position and getting position early, which could play to Carson McClellan's hand.
We're going to step away for just a few moments' time, and then when we come back, we'll set you up for this evening's racing action. 43 strong, getting ready to take the green at Pocono. Moments away from going green this evening at the Pocono Raceway, site of round number 8 of 18 on the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Tim Terry, Joe Cortez, and Nim Cross to call all the action for you. And want to bring Nim in here before we go to the starting grid. We mentioned Carson McClelland is starting on the pole. Marcus Lindsay going to start on the outside. But when you look down this list, Tyler Hudson, the point leader, starts in 14th. Nick Ottinger's always strong here. He's going to start in 8th. A great qualifying effort for Cyril Nussbaum. He starts in position number 11. Who do you see is possibly a driver here that might not have the ideal starting position that might pick their way through the field?
Well, Tim, while he figures out his microphone real quick, I'll go ahead and give you some of my picks that could get through this field. You got Josh Lawton in 4th. He's currently running within that top 10 of points. It wouldn't surprise me if he picks his way through the field. Your three-peat winner this year, Nick Ottinger in 8th, the two-time champion, Ray Alfalla in 9th. They are both definitely within picking position. And then the guy who I think has the most to worry about right here is Tyler Hudson, your current points leader, starting in 14th right now on this field. That's going to make for some very, very tough racing. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to get up front and get in front of the guys who'll be challenging him for that lead out, for that points lead out here tonight.
So as we get ready to go racing this evening, we have a pace lap around this Pocono Raceway, so we'll go down our 43-car starting grid that will contest the 100-lap distance this evening. Carson McClelland going to start on the pole with a 53.095 to the outside. It's the number 1 of Marcus Lindsay with a 53.17.
On the inside of row number 2 will be in 69 of Peter Bennett, turning in a time of 53.178 seconds. On the outside of him, it's Josh Lawton, the number 40 machine, starting 4th.
Paul Kashiba next up on the grid in position number 5 in the 32 to the outside. It's 3 wide Daly, Byron Daly, number 93.
In the inside row number 4, it'll be the number 27 of Cody Bias, starting 7th. Outside of him, 3-time winner on this season, Nick Ottinger in the 05 Ream Chevrolet, starts 8th.
Ray Alfalla, Michael Conti, the top 2 from last season, 2 and 5 complete 9th and 10th.
In the inside row number 6, the French connection, Cyril Nussbaum, in the number 99 machine, starting 11th. Outside of him, the 96 of Richard Doucette starts 12th. Nim.
Inside row number 7, Joey Brown starts his number 12 car. Outside of him, your point leader, car number 01, Tyler Hudson.
Robert Hall rolls the 30 from position number 15 to the outside. Dustin Montgomery, P16.
In the inside of row 9, it's a driver at 9th in points, Adam Gilliland, starting in the number 81 machine. Outside of him, the banker from Brawley, Kevin King, starts 18th in the 29 machine.
Inside row number 10, you have car number 07, that's Derek Crone. Outside of him, car number 52, Patrick Baldwin.
Former winner at this track, Steve Sheehan, will have to roll from position number 21 to get to the front to his outside 34, Matt Busa.
In row number 12, starting on the inside, Brian Schoenberg, currently 2nd in points. 55 machine, that's a long way to go if he wants to make up the points tonight. On the outside of him, Brandon Cattell in the 80, starts 24th.
Jake Sturgis, your winner last year from Las Vegas, will start 25th. 26th will be Chad Lofton.
Alex Warren, former pro champion, rolls off 27th to the outside, the 16, Thomas Lewandowski.
Landon Huffman starts in row 15, the 75 machine. Outside of him, Casey Malone in the 92, starts 30th.
Row 16, you have car number 28, Chad Coleman on the inside. Outside of him, Jason Karlavage in car number 60.
Brandon Schmidt starts 33rd to the outside. It's the 21 of John Gorlinski.
Starting P35 will be the 39 of Michael J. Johnson, your featured driver this week at WCS.iRacing.com. Outside of him, Danny Hansen starts 36th.
37th will be Rob Ackley in car number 22. Outside of him, car number 84, John Adams.
The Viper, Landon Harrison, starts in 39th and 40th, Carson Downs.
Rounding out your field tonight, Brad Davies in the 11 starts 41st. Brian Blackford in the 33 starts 42nd. And Josh Berry, the last one to make the show in the 91 machine, will start shotgun on this field. That's all 43 drivers. And now it's coming all on Carson McClelland to start this race.
The only registered driver for this series, it did not make the show, the 157 of Andrew Fayash III. Pace car about to head to the infield, Carson McClelland in control, and we are underway. Green flag flies, and the 24 is on the hammer. The one of Marcus Lindsay on the outside, Peter Bennett on the inside trying to take position number 2 away as we fan out down the front straightaway. Could we be 3 wide going into corner number 1? Josh Lawton on the outside, and the 69 of Peter Bennett, they get side by side as Marcus Lindsay gets away a little bit here.
99, the 1, the 96, all 3 wide right now. Cyril Nussbaum on the inside, Tyler Hudson in the middle. The 96 of Richard Doucette on the outside. The 01 is now going to go to that outside lane. Not for very much longer, though. He's going to duck down. We are still 2 wide through turn 2.
Side by side for that position as well as up in front. Peter Bennett has company. Paul Kashiba, great qualifying run for the 32. On the outside of the 69, Nick Ottinger in the 05. And Byron Daly in the 93 go side by side as Mike Conti begins to move in the 5. Ray Alfala just behind him in the Pro Geek Consulting Ford Fusion. Byron Daly to the inside trying to take away a position there as we go down into corner number 1. We have 1 lap complete.
You see, look at the back of the 32 machine that belongs to Paul Kashiba, currently in 5th. You see the line of drivers behind him trying to make something new, something work. The 93 of Daly, 05 of Ottinger. The 05 gets out of line. Is the 2 going to follow him? Not almost. No, the 2's going to drop even further down. Going to make it 3 wide. And the 2, someone's going to lose this game of chicken, and it's going to be the 93, the ParkerClickerman.com Ford Fusion, piloted by Byron Daly.
That was a smart move by the 2 of Ray Alfala to not put it 3 wide into that corner. The 5 of Mike Conti now goes underneath Byron Daly in the 93, and Daly is going backward into the Parker Kligerman Ford as the 27 of Cody Bias now to the inside as you look back from Ray Alfala in the number 2. The 93 might have the position here. Bias might throw it in to corner number 1 to see if he can pick up one more spot. Daly shuts the door down the straightaway and into corner number 1 he goes. And what a great qualifying run for the Leprechaun, Rich Doucette. Doucette runs back there in position number 11 right now in the TC's Custom Diecast Chevy.
Meanwhile, I kept my eye on Tyler Hudson. He's already picked up 2 positions on this field. Start 14th, now is in 12th, and within a throwing rock's distance of breaking into the top 10 if he can keep in line and keep working. Meanwhile, up front, Carson McClelland has a 0.2 of a second lead over Marcus Lindsay. Marcus Lindsay has nearly 8 seconds over Josh Lawton and company. Remember I said this is a race of position? We're already starting to see that position fade away very, very quickly.
Alfala and Ottinger side by side at position number 6. The Pro Geek Consulting Ford to the inside of the Rheem Chevrolet as Mike Conti also battles here for this spot. Ottinger is one of those drivers, Joe, and we've seen it here before, that doesn't like to give up a position, whether it's the first lap of the race or whether it's the last lap of the race. As you see close quarters there between the 05 and the 2, Ray Alfala knows how to pick his spots and pick his positions, especially early in a race. You saw that 3 wide move that could have happened there as you ride on board with the 2 of Ray Alfala. He knows how to race smart early in these races. We saw that run in last year with Ottinger and Sheehan late in the going of that race as the 2 gets a little bit loose in 2. We'll watch those drivers as they go throughout this race here as the 2 and now the 5 of Conti going at it.
Well, according to my count, we still have a little over 95 laps left to go. As you see, Ray Alfala almost gets sideways through turn 3 there. Alfala is a smart driver. This is why he's won 2 of these championships in the last 2 years. He knows how to pick his moves. He knows how to make the race work for him. And in that last move, it wouldn't have worked out for him. If he would have forced the issue, both him and the 05 would have gone around, and you don't want that this early in the race.
Peter Bennett into the fence off corner number 2 there, I do believe, as the 69 smacks the wall. The 05 of Ottinger goes down on the 69, and now they enter corner number 2. So Peter Bennett's going to lose at least 1 position here, and Alfala going to stick the nose in there as you watch the battle for the lead as well. The 1 of Marcus Lindsay, the 24 of Carson McClelland. These guys are former teammates. Now Marcus Lindsay with a different team. The number 24 still with Sim Chassis, and they put together a piece here this week. But Lindsay all over the back bumper, wearing out the back bumper of the Purelator Chevrolet.
The Purelator Chevrolet not going to give any position to his former teammate in the Abuto Gaming Cockpit's Chevy SS. These 2 guys are going at it like a couple of boxers, but again, they're being smart about it. Marcus Lindsay wants the pass, but he knows he's going to have to take his time and make his move when the 24 makes a mistake. And if the 24 is forced to continue to do rear view mirror driving like he's doing right now, it's only a matter of time before the 1 gets him to make that mistake. You're right along the rear bumper right now. Let's see if the number 1 can make it happen and work his way to P1.
As you watch that battle for the lead, I'm keeping a half eye, guys, in the 69 of Peter Bennett. Ever since he hit that wall, he's going backwards, and he's trying to throw a couple of blocks there to try to impede the process as the 34 is around, and I believe we may be under our first caution here.
That's correct. The 34 did go around. It looks like got a little help coming off the turn there from the 39 machine. That's a fast track shim Sevi of Michael J. Johnson. No, 34 had it coming early. He didn't hit the turn right, and that is going to bring out our first caution period of the evening.
I don't think Michael J. Johnson touched him, and if he did, it was so light that I don't think it would have mattered. The 34 was already around with the help of those rumble strips. But as I was about to say, before we went to that caution, the 69 of Peter Bennett was falling back through the field. He hit that wall there, Joe, and threw a little bit of a block on the 2 of Ray Alfala to kind of stop the bleeding, try to get into a rhythm, and then the 2 of Alfala had to get underneath him, try to make that little bit of time up, because we've seen green flag racing here at Pocono before. You don't want to fall behind the 8 ball, especially early. And when Ray was chasing Nick Ottinger, or trying to chase Nick Ottinger down, that 69 slowing him down a little bit. The 2, it almost looked like a little sense of urgency. I got to get past here. I got to make this move, as Carson McClelland and Marcus Lindsay were putting on a show up front.
Absolutely there. Peter Bennett definitely need to stay in position, and with this yellow flag, he's going to be able to have a free pass almost to go in, get some repairs done, and stay competitive in what's going to be a very, very long race. It feels long right now. It's only going to get longer from here, both in time and in mileage around this very long, tricky triangle, as they call it, here in the Poconos of Pennsylvania. They come around to pit lane. Is anybody going to come down? It looks like the 1 will come down, the 40 will come down, the 32, Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfala, Michael Connie, all come to the attention of Nim Cross.
Yeah, the leader stayed out, which is kind of going to put him on a bad spot. We'll see early on if fresh tires are going to make a big difference here. And with the leader staying out, he probably wishes he pitted right now, because he looks like he's about the only car that stayed out. We have a really long pit lane here, folks, and all the cars are just making their way into the pit stalls. Most likely, everybody will take 4 tires. We'll have to check on that, but maybe somebody will take 2 just to get track position here.
Race off pit road, the 2 of Ray Alfala will win it, with the 30 of Robert Hall coming off in a second, and then 3 wide, 4 wide behind them. I think everybody's going to get off without a whole lot of contact, but Ray Alfala going to win this race off pit road, and he will line up second behind Carson McClelland, and McClelland is going to be out there with it didn't come down at all, Nim.
Yeah, I have some information on Peter Bennett's crew. They had pulled the fenders off of the right side of the car. They had 7.8 seconds worth of damage they had to fix on that car, but he's back on his way, and he should be okay now.
Alfala, 2 right side tires on the Pro Geek Consulting Ford. Robert Hall, I'm assuming, did take 2 as well. Then you have Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, and Marcus Lindsay out behind them. I know we have an in-race reporter here. I wonder if we can get John Adams dialed up here and see if we can't get any insight from that team. And John's been away from the series for a couple of weeks. I think we have him dialed up here now in the Mud Jug Portable Spittoons number 84. You got us, John?
Yep, got you loud and clear, Tim.
I know you've been away here for a couple of weeks back at the racetrack, but this is the racetrack that you like. Pocono Raceway, winner here last year. This really rejuvenates a guy that's been out of the seat for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, oh yeah. This is my favorite track by far out of any other track in the series. The past couple of weeks or races, I have been really busy with work and everything, and haven't had much time to practice, so I wasn't going to jump into a race and wreck myself or wreck anybody else. So I've just kind of been sitting back watching everybody have fun, and I seen that Pocono was coming up. I'm like, I was like, I got to run this race, but I'm not as good as I once was, Tim. Kind of like what Toby Keith would say, right?
Well, you're sitting back there right now. You had a close call there with Michael J. Johnson in the 34 there, nearly coming into contact. The 34 going around. What'd you see there?
I I don't really remember. All I know is I seen a bunch of cars slow up, and I went between Brad Davies and whoever that was on the bottom, and I'm glad I didn't get any sort of damage out of that. But we're just right around here, see if I can get my feel back for the track and see if I can get up towards the front. It's gonna be kind of hard with no setup, really, because I don't have a setup. I'm just out here having fun with everybody,
Before we let you go and get back to racing, I do want to ask you about the familiar voice in your ear. Chris Overland's doing a little spotting for you tonight.
Yeah, one of my old buddies, so I got Chris spotting for me now. I wish Joshua B. Gerald was spotting for me, because he was the one who spotted for me last year when I won here. But he ain't around anymore, so I got old Chris to spot for me.
That's John Adams, our in-race reporter. We'll talk to you at some other point during this race, John.
Sounds good.
And he will roll off from position number 32 as we get ready to go green flag racing here. Ray Alfala and Carson McClelland on the front row. Keep in mind, guys, Carson McClelland did not pit on that run. At Ray Alfala did take 2 right side tires. So, Joe, this is going to be interesting. Bring us to green.
As they get ready, pace car is in, green flag flies, and here comes Ray Alfala. He wants to get that jump, not going to get it just yet. Here we go. Green flag flies, and there's a jump of the 24 machine. McClelland knew what Ray Alfala was going to do and beat him to the start. So McClelland now getting a big jump. He's put at least through 3 cars between him and Alfala. Interesting move by Alfala that he made earlier there with the 2 tires. He puts himself up front now in a position to challenge the 24 for the lead. The bad news is he's going to also have to come into pit road sooner to get those inside tires taken care of. But that might be the same time McClelland might be forced to come down pit road.
3 and 4 wide going down into corner number 2 here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Somehow they get it back to 2 mid-pack. Adam Gilliland and Michael J. Johnson running side by side right around John Adams as well in the 84. The Mud Jug number 84 pushing to the front of the field. Cyril Nussbaum in this Hornet's Nest as well. Chad Lawton nearly makes contact with the 84 as they go side by side for the position. This is where the excitement is, as right after these restarts show, this is the best opportunity to pick up your position, and some of these drivers going a little harder than the others.
3 wide once again going into turn 1. Now it'll be 2 wide. That 6 machine is going to make it 2 wide, but now we got a battle for the lead up front. It's going to be Ray Alfala taking the position away from the 24 of Carson McClelland. New leader up front. It is a 2 machine. The Ford Fusion trying to make a move out there.
24 and 30 going to go at it now as well. Robert Hall and Carson McClelland. McClelland did not pit on that last stop, and look at that. Your winner from 2 weeks ago back in the fray. Joey Brown in the number 12 running in 4th with Brian Schoenberg completing your top 5, as it looks like for the most part right now everybody within about your top dozen or so has been able to get a little sigh of relief. The first side-by-side battles around Sheehan and the 5 of Conti as they go at it for 13th.
Meanwhile, there's a battle up brewing for second place as the 30 easily gets around the 24 going into turn number 1. Now there's a 12 and 55 going to make it 3 wide. Joey Brown in the middle, Brian Schoenberg on the downside, and once again it looks like it'll be the 24 that might lose that battle. The 55 now getting some help from the push for the 1. Let's see what they do. Will they go 3 wide into turn 2? Survey says no. The 12 gets to make the move as we have trouble on the backstretch.
John Adams around in the grass, and this should bring out caution flag number 2, and it looks like Adams' car is a little bit dog tracking with the suspension on that race car, and he's going to have a little bit of contact here with the 81 of Adam Gilliland, and Chad Lawton just cannot grab a break in this series. He gets into it once again. Got about 6 cars or so here, Nim, with damage on this one. Casey Malone, Danny Hansen through the grass. Man, it just seems like Chad Lawton cannot catch a break in this series.
Yeah, it looked like it started when the 81 tried to block the 84 car coming down the Long Pond straightaway there. And when he did, he may have got a piece of the 84 car that sent him around, and that a lot of heavy traffic coming from behind, and a lot of cars had nowhere to go.
Gonna need a new front clip on the 52 of Pat Baldwin as he went into the inside wall, and rolled that car over after a little bit of contact with, I believe, the 92 coming back down the racetrack of Casey Malone. Malone's going to have some heavy rear-end suspension damage to the Gary Mercer Trucking number 92. Danny Hansen went through the grass in the infield portion of this racetrack, and I believe hit one of the access roads as well, so he'll have to come in for adjustment as well. A tough break for some of those drivers that were trying to pick their way through the field, Joe, and we knew that was coming, or we had to feel that was coming, because the 2 and 3 wide that was going on back there, it's not going to last for long, and we always know Adam Gilliland is one of those drivers that can be a little over-anxious sometimes, and it looks like it may have been him here, or bit some of the drivers behind him here.
Yes, but as I said before, and I will continue saying again in this race, Tim, this is a race that's all about making position and making position early. If you can get a good position, chances are, unless something crazy happens behind you or you make a mistake, you can very, very easily make that up later in the race and hold on to that position throughout the race. Ray Alfalla knew it. That's why he took a gamble in pit stops. That's why he took a gamble out there, as you see some other guys now flirting with pit road. The 55 threw a fake. The 24 threw a fake. Nobody getting stuck on pit road, it looks like, as everybody, again, playing that position game early in the race. Everybody doing everything they can to make sure they get position, they hold on to position, and make sure that, if nothing else, they can finish this race exactly where they're at right now.
First driver to pit was about P23. Michael J. Johnson came down, and most of the drivers behind him, with the exception of a couple, came down onto pit road.
Yeah, most of the drivers you see pitting right now are drivers that were involved in that incident, where they're either going to need tires or need to work on those cars. Right now, Alex Warren's telling us he's got slight damage to his car, only a couple seconds worth of repair. And Casey Malone, a little bit more damage on that car, that he's got about 4 minutes of optional repair. Patrick Baldwin, the heaviest damage, we saw him upside down the back straight away. He's got 15 minutes worth of damage on that car, and they think they're calling it a night on that car.
And when you look at Patrick Baldwin this season, the 52 team has had an up and down year, 19th in the standings. Before we factor in the drop coming in, and the top 20 is where you need to be, Joe, to lock yourself into this series for next season. And with everybody so tight around there, Patrick Baldwin 155 points, Brad Davies on the bubble right now at 153. Paul Kashiba, who's having a great run this evening, 149 points. Byron Daly just on the outside looking in. Chad Coleman, two drivers that really have been mainstays in this series for the last few years. Carson Downs, Joey Brown, last week's winner, 2 weeks ago, your winner, completing your top 25 in the standings. These are the drivers right now on the outside looking in that top 20.
You know, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right there, Tim. You definitely got something there. And as you look at these drivers who are all struggling, something that's on the back of their minds. After next week, we will officially have hit the halfway mark for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. In 2 weeks, when we go to after we go to Kentucky, we will have hit that halfway point. And at that point, there's no going back. Unless you have a good, solid car out there, unless you can make it up somehow throughout the rest of the season, you might be looking at trying to race your way back in, which is a prospect none of these guys want to go through. Nimcross, as lights go out, I believe you have some information on some repairing some cars on there.
Yeah, well, the guy we were just talking to earlier, our in-race reporter, John Adams, that guy, they got about 4 minutes worth of repairs to do on that car. So they'll be in and out of the pits here for a while. But the nice thing about this track, Pocono, long pace laps, under yellow, you can get a lot of repair done on your car under caution here, Tim.
Ray Alfalla, your leader, and on the outside it's going to be Robert Hall in the number 30 with Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, and Carson McClellan, your top 5. Watch the 24. He's one of those drivers, Joe, that we've talked about, and I've talked to a lot of teams this week, and I asked them, I said, who's the driver to watch, because the A Series has been here the last week, and I asked the NASCAR iRacing Series has been here. So I asked some drivers, I said, some of those series obviously are fixed setup, but really, who do you watch at Pocono? And they said when it comes to open setup, Sim Chassis seems to have their cars dialed in, with Robert Hall and Carson McClellan being the two drivers that could very well win here this evening. Patrick Baldwin, the third Sim Chassis driver, obviously is not going to win here this evening. So they consensus might have been that 24 car was the one to watch.
And if the 24 car has a solid setup underneath him, if he has one that can make the long haul run, that can get in and out of pit road without any problems and any major adjustments, he still could be a favorite to win this race. But as I look up front, as I look at all the talent in front of him and the talent around him, it's going to be a very difficult field. Right now, you've got the class of Niswick in the top 10. Do you really want to take your odds with that, Tim?
We'll see what happens here on this restart. Pace car in, Ray Alfala in control, and he is gone along with the rest of the field. Green flag flies. Joey Brown tucked up tight behind your champion, your two-time champion of Ray Alfala, as Robert Hall on the outside. Alfala sweeps up to grab a little draft from the 30, and Joey Brown up into the 30 of Robert Hall. He saves it. I believe he's going to fall back a bunch of positions here. This isn't over. 3 wide underneath the 30.
A 4 wide at certain points underneath the 30 as he now tries to find a grip on that car and get back into this group. These guys now trying to gather back up and try to get it racy. If you're up in the top group, you're happy because you were able to make it work. If you weren't, you're in trouble. We have trouble on the track right now.
Brandon Schmidt around, and this should draw the caution flag right away, and that's right around him where they were going by that number 30 of Robert Hall on the inside, and I believe he had a little bit of contact, and actually I believe it was somebody that was involved in our last caution as well.
Yeah, it looks like the 81 car again, possibly the 3 might have checked up. There was a lot of traffic there in the tunnel turn, but the 3 got hit from behind, and that sent them spinning down the short straightaway here between turns 2 and 3 here at Pocono.
This might be a good time to mention as well that these drivers do have an incident system. In this series, after each race, there are a panel of officials that look at each wreck and decide who is at fault or whether the wreck can be deemed a racing deal. When you have a certain amount of laps after a restart, those points are doubled. And Joe, if Adam's involved in anything else throughout the night, Adam could be possibly sitting out in 2 weeks' time when we head to Kentucky.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this incident again, Tim, and the way I'm looking at it, it looks like the 29, that Alpine Star Chevrolet of Kevin King, was forced to check up. That starts a chain reaction behind him with the 16 and 3. The 16 is then also forced to check up. The 3, nowhere to go. He gets in the back of the 16, and that's what starts all the problems out there, Tim. So I do not envy the administrators tonight. I don't envy the guys working tonight because they've got a huge operation in front of them to try to decipher a lot of these incidents tonight.
We'll see if your leaders decide to come to pit road here on this caution. I don't think they will because we just had a caution about a half lap after we threw the green flag. But we'll see if Ray Alfala, Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClelland, or Nick Ottinger decide to hit pit lane. And it looks like they are all staying north of the border. So we are going to step away for just a few moments' time and take a break. We'll be back with some more racing from the Pocono Raceway. We've completed 17 of 100 laps.
To Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Jack in the Box Summer Shootout and watch the NASCAR stars of tomorrow compete. This Monday and Tuesday nights feature Principal School Bus races. Lugnut, the world's fastest mascot, will be on hand, and all the action is captured on the world's largest HD TV. Tickets are only $7 for adults, and kids 13 and under get in free with a paying adult. Gates open at 5 p.m. Get your tickets today by calling 1-800-455-FANS.
Welcome back to round number 8 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship from the Pocono Raceway, under caution once again this evening, and this is the third caution period, I do believe, off the top of my head, at this event. And Joe, we usually are joined by Tony Stevens, but as you saw in that commercial break, the Jack in the Box Summer Shootout happening at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we speak, and Tony is with some Legend and Bandolero drivers this evening, as they are calling that action down there. I can say I'm a little bit jealous. I've spent some time with the Legend and Bandolero ranks around the southeast and down in Florida, of course, up here as well. And he's got his hands full this evening. He's got a lot of young racers trying to make a name for themselves this evening at Charlotte, and Tony's calling the action there. That's why he's not here.
And we definitely wish the best to Tony Stevens, calling all the action there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'll be joining him in just a couple of weeks for the UARA Stars Series when it goes to Hickory Motor Speedway. I don't know if we can pull this up, guys, but Tony did post a picture on his Twitter, TStevens92, of him not only watching all the action, everything happen at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but he's got a little picture of us going out there as well. So Tony's giving us some love out there, and we wish nothing but the best for Tony, and go get him out there, big guy.
I know Pat Baldwin is around in the garage area this evening, and Pat, it's a wreck that you didn't want to see happen because I know you had a fast car this evening. What happened on the back straightaway?
Yeah, well, the car was definitely fast tonight. All the guys over at Sim Chassis did an awesome job. Chris Crosby came over the other day and helped us out a lot with the setup. And it was really fast, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to prove that. But hopefully Robert and Carson can show a little bit of speed that it has and maybe pull out a win or top 5. But I was just kind of riding, and it looked like John Adams and Adam Gilliland got together going in one, and they gathered it up. Then I was just, looked like they were fine, and then on the backstretch, John Adams just spun out right up the track into me, nowhere I could go. So had about almost 16 minutes of damage, and I was done. So had to turn about 200 degrees to the left just to go straight. So definitely not a good car to drive around the track. So we'll come back next week and hopefully put on a good show at Kentucky.
We see it on the Sprint Cup Series restarts that it seems like there's a sense of urgency. Everybody's tucked up tight together. I can make my passes on these restarts where everybody's bunched up, and it seems like the top 10, 11 in this pack get single file or strung out, and then they start picking off their passes, but it seems like that hornet's nest around 15th doesn't die down, and we see these few cautions. What's the sense of urgency back there for some of these drivers? What did you see there through the first 12 laps or so?
Well, I'm not sure what the urgency really is, honestly. It's a long race, 100 laps. I was just trying to get through the first half of the race, just kind of ride around and hope for a long run. Felt like the car was good on the long runs. I was just trying to get single file and maybe pick them off one at a time. But everybody just gets kind of stuck too wide around this track with the way the bumps are and the grooves are. I'm sure it's fun to watch on TV, but it's kind of frustrating out there as a driver. You just get stuck in these 2 and 3 wide situations that you can't really get out of without losing a bunch of spots. So it's just part of the racing out there.
Quickly, before we let you go, sponsors on your car, who makes it happen?
I'd like to thank Zeno Controls, Verve, Here Later, and all the guys over at Sim Chassis.
That's Patrick Baldwin, and we'll see Pat in 2 weeks' time when we go racing at the Kentucky Speedway. Ray Alfala is your leader, Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClelland, and Nick Ottinger. Your top 5 getting ready to go green. We will cross the 1/5 distance mark in this race, this time by 20 laps in the books. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car getting ready to head to the infield here, fielding command of the number 2 car of Ray Alfala. Pace car in, Alfala is gone. Green flag flies. Watch Schoenberg on the back bumper of the number 2, the 05 of Ottinger there on the inside, and we got a big wreck on the front straightaway here.
Now 5 involved, 99 involved, the 26 involved. Cars are all over the front stretch. 92, now the 39 of Michael J. Johnson gets a touch of it as well. Plenty of cars everywhere all over this track.
Nim, it might be easier to say who's not involved in this wreck, as we see those restarts, and it looks like it starts with the 69.593 right around there, just outside the top 10.
Yeah, well, they're coming down the front straight on the restart, and there might have been a little bit of a checkup, or I'm not sure, but maybe somebody didn't check up enough. But it started with the 69 car as he got into the car in front of him a little bit, and that just turned him right into the 5 car, Michael Conte. Conte went around and hit the 96, and they all went around spinning in traffic there, and the cars behind had very little chance to miss it.
Brad Davies gets past this. The 8 of Dustin Montgomery gets past this. Actually, Montgomery might have hit the wall there on the front straightaway, but Brad Davies gets through it clearly. I believe that's Derek Crone back there that also gets through it, and then everybody else behind either has to stop or slow down. John Gorlinski nearly got through it, but I think he might have collected 3 cars in one wreck as the 21 gets up there, and it looked like he was through, Joe, and then the hole closed up.
The hole closed up very quickly, and that caused the big problem up front. So this is definitely going to create a lot of problems for a lot of driven drivers out there. Even the slightest amount of damage can hinder you at this very, very long track. You know, the guys are hitting nearly or past super speedway speeds when they go down this track. So that aerodynamic loss, that loss of ability on your car will hurt you in the long run. And with that long run being gone away, when we do have some green flag runs, it means your car may not be as competitive as the clean cars throughout this race.
We got a couple of cars that are still trying to catch up. The pace car is on the opposite end of the racetrack as the leaders are right now, is the 92 car, Casey Malone. I don't know if we can't get a camera on that or not, but you want to talk about heavy suspension damage? There's the 92 car, the Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet, and it's pointing towards the outside wall, and that's something that it shouldn't be doing when it's supposed to be going straight, Joe.
92 finally catches the pace car, and he is going to get out of the way. Heavy damage to that 92 machine. I think that Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet is done for the night with that major damage on it. Good run for him, but once you get caught up in that damage, it's really hard to have a competitive run and get back in the field.
So the pace car has the field. Ray Alfala, Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClelland, and Nick Ottinger in tow. Everybody back to about 11th place. I believe got through there cleanly without any damage. Maybe the 07 of Derek Crone might have got through there as well. I believe Dustin Montgomery might have some right-hand side damage to the DHL number 8. Everybody else behind them, they either had to get through there slowly or collect a little bit of damage to their race cars, and we'll see what happens when these guys come down onto pit road. And Nim, I know you've been talking to some of these crew chiefs here. What are they saying?
Well, a couple of the drivers sustained a lot of damage in that wreck. Danny Hansen will have some damage on that. Let's see. Richard Doucette just said their car's broke. They're probably done for the night. Dustin Montgomery, he got into the wall trying to avoid it, and his toes knocked down on his car. Peter Bennett has about 5 minutes worth of optional damage to fix on that car. That means that he can ride around and try to fix it under his pit stops. It's not mandatory fixes, but he's got about 5 minutes worth of damage to that car.
So we'll see if anybody of the leaders come onto pit road here. It looks like they all are going to stay out on the racetrack, at least your top 10 or so. First driver on pit road through this is going to be the 5 of Mike Conti, and he might have some damage. I believe there's some suspension damage by the looks of it on this 5 car from this camera angle. I'm looking at the main performance PC. Number 5 going to head down to the attention of his crew, and Nim, we talked about the 5 earlier this season, missed Daytona, so he can't really afford a bad race to drop if you're looking at a championship, at least for the 5, and it's been looking good so far this season, but you just can't have one more bad run if you're the 5 team.
No, they had a really good run last season. They were up challenging Ray all season long. Not so good luck this season. Their car heavily damaged right now, sitting on pit road as the crew works on that car. He'll try to get it back involved. But Mike Conte, obviously a really good driver, struggling a little bit this season.
So he will get some damage repaired and back out onto the racetrack. Right now, 31 scored on the lead lap, and 3 other drivers that are on the tail end of the lead lap right now. So Cyril Nussbaum 1 lap down, Rob Ackley 1 lap down, Cody Bias, Josh Lawton, Landon Huffman, Casey Malone all scored as 1 lap down. Rich Doucette, Carson Downs each scored as 2 laps down, and Pat Baldwin out of the race, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. He's 9 laps behind the pace. And tough break for Carson Downs. He was sporting a brand new paint scheme this evening. The number 97 car was sporting the Firecracker popsicle colors on that race car. And Joe, he was trying to get that car in last week, and there was a little bit of confusion. Did not get that car approved in time to be at the racetrack at Charlotte. So they decided to bring it here, and it looked like they lit some firecrackers of the wrong variety this evening.
The good news for him is he did get some TV time with that firecracker machine, and I know the sponsors always appreciate that. The bad news about that is he's not going to be really competitive or even in the show at this point. So, the best you can do when that happens, you pack it up, you get all the sheet metal worked out, and you hope to come back in 2 weeks at a Kentucky Speedway that will be a little bit more forgiving. He was hoping, I'm sure a lot of these drivers who were involved in the incident tonight are hoping that old Kentucky home will be a little bit kinder to them. Cars are lining up, so it wouldn't surprise me if we have 1 lap to go, or at least 1.5 laps to go, as the lights still remain on. They should go off next time by.
Down here in Michael Conte's crew, they're working on the rear end of that car. The rear end knocked out of alignment. They're going out on the track right now. Try to get back in here on the next lap and continue those repairs.
We'll see what he can do, and with some drivers falling out of this race, staying on the lead lap might be of importance. Of course, we mentioned the free pass. They do have one of those in this series, but you really don't want to rely on that, especially when we get to this point in the race and a little bit later on, and I'm going to touch some wood here on this one. We usually see that long green flag run at Pocono Raceway, and we're going to see that later on, I'm sure. But when does that start to happen? Do we see it now after a third of the field or a quarter of the field is either damaged or taken out of this race because of that wreck? Or do we see a couple of more cautions here and then we see a green flag run? I'm sure some of these drivers up in front, especially if you're in that top 10, are hoping we see some green flag racing here.
A lot of guys are hoping to see some green flag racing, and especially guys that are chasing Ray Alfalla. Remember, a lot of the cars behind him have all 4 stickers underneath them. Ray Alfalla only took 2 when all the leaders came down to pit road. Then there's Carson McClellan, who has none. His little piggy has none out there, Tim. So a lot of guys out here hoping that this green flag run will be conducive to them to get some position underneath them, and then ultimately what might be the payoff of this race, green flag pit stops.
So we should have the pace car lights off this time by, and it'll be quarter distance this time by, 25 laps completed. And we will hopefully be going back to racing this next time by. Alfalla, Brown, Schoenberg, McClellan, and Ottinger, your top 5, with Marcus Lindsay, Brandon Cattell, Paul Kashiba, Steve Sheehan, Byron Daly, your top 10. Pace car lights are off. We double up. We're going green next time by.
So as we get ready to go green next time by, Alfalla, Joey Brown, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClellan, Nick Ottinger, your top 5. All these guys have been strong all season long, and based on this top 5, even if the top 5 finish this way, we could very easily see a shuffling in points.
I have a feeling that there will be a lot of drivers that need this drop week to be Pocono in order to put themselves together a season for the top 20 in this series to qualify for next year in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. As Ray Alfalla, Joey Brown. Ray Alfalla's been in this situation before. Obviously, he's been going for that championship instead of the top 20 bubble. But right now, this is good for Ray Alfalla as he sees a couple of drivers there that could have been contenders this season, Joe, fall to the wayside.
As Conley rolls off and tries to get back on the track, I'm looking at the points right now, and there are some guys that can afford having Pocono as a drop week. Guys like Jason Karlavich, currently 17th. Matt Busa, currently 16th. Patrick Baldwin, currently 19th. Even Paul Kashiba could afford to have this as a drop week. But then you have guys like Jason Karlavich, who only has 6 starts. Jake Sturgis only has 6 starts. Brad Davies only has 6 starts. They can no longer afford the drop. They need to keep their season going in that top 20 if they want to be locked in to next year's season.
We should see the first racing Ford Mustang pace car head to the infield here. Ray Alfala, Joey Brown, and Brian Schoenberg, your top three. Schoenberg has yet to win in this series. Could this be the evening that Schoenberg breaks through for that first victory? He will restart in third. Pace car into the infield right here. Alfala on the hammer. Green flag flies. And we are back underway as Alfala leads us down the straightaway. Schoenberg trying to get in there. Scattell throws it 3 wide on the inside line. The 80 car trying to make up a couple of spots here, and he might do it. He's up into the top 5 if they can hold it through the corner. Ottinger in the middle, and here comes Marcus Lindsay in the 1.
The 80, 05, 24, still 3 wide, as we have some trouble now on the track around the 81, the 20 involved. The 11, I'm being told, also involved in that incident. At least 3 cars involved, 16 now involved, and he has heavy front-end damage on that machine. Lewandowski not happy at all. Smoke coming from the 81 machine of Adam Gilliland. If he wasn't in trouble earlier, he might be in big trouble now.
And that started right around the 07 of Derek Cronin. I believe he was racing with the 6 of Steve Sheehan as they went. It looked like Derek Cronin was trying to get in there 3 wide.
Well, maybe he had some air taken off his car or something like that, but his car pushed out, and he got into the 6 car, and that turned the 6 car and turned himself around. Actually, the 6 car survived, but then turned the 07 around right in the middle of traffic. But, he was on the bottom, and he pushed up into a 3 wide, and he just got into the car right next to him.
And you're going to see a couple of drivers here with damage as the 07 of Crone, nowhere to go. Danny Hansen, nowhere to go. And there's another driver who's had a tough season so far, the driver of the number 20 of Danny Hansen. Heavy smoke rolling from the Gary Mercer Trucking 81 of Adam Gilliland. And it looks like his night, if not done, Joe, they'll have a lot of time on pit road to repair that race car.
And they might need a lot of time to get repairs done. The good news is for them is they do have the time to make it now, as a lot of your field is going to be limping through with some form of damage. The bad news is that, again, if you're a driver who was counting on using your drop week somewhere else, you might be forced to use it here, and that's never a good feeling, knowing that I've burned my drop week because of somebody else.
I see Carson Downs has joined us in the booth, and he's brought us some firecracker popsicles. Carson, I want to talk about this wreck. Massive wreck, not a whole lot of places to go. What happened?
The car was going to be really good tonight. I expected to give out free popsicles for everyone, but it seems like it didn't turn out that way. The restarts are really hectic. If somebody doesn't go, it causes a huge backup, and it seemed like that's what instigated the wreck.
I asked Patrick Baldwin the same thing. It seems like there's a sense of urgency about mid-pack on back to really go. We saw that wreck there with Derek Crone on the inside, trying to make another spot on Steve Sheehan when there was really no room to do so. What are you feeling back there with those drivers trying to pick up all these spots off these restarts?
That I'm not too sure about. This year, iRacing and Nascar extended the race 20 laps to make it a 100-lap event, which I think definitely would help the racing if we got green flag runs in. But 100 laps, 2.5-mile track, you have 250 miles to get it done. But I think some people feel that after 10 laps, you're not going to be able to make up ground, and you have to get it all early.
You started off the season strong, and now coming into this event, you sat 24th without that drop factored in. This is obviously probably going to be your drop week, at least for right now. What do you have to do in the second half of the season to not only get yourself up in the top 20, but maybe have something for the top 10 of the standings?
My main problem has been qualifying. I think my average start this year is like low 30s, so that's a big problem. Starting in the back doesn't help. If you notice, people who start up front tend to avoid their wrecks, and that's the main thing I'm going to have to work on.
Now, I know you got some sponsors on your car, and you also have a good group of guys over there at J Show that help you put the setup together. Who makes it happen each week?
I'd like to thank Jason. He made an awesome setup for this week. Brian Schoenberg, great Q setup. And I'd like to thank Popsicle. They've come on board. We've run Fudge Sickle, and this week was the first time for the fire car. But it didn't turn out how we liked it.
And I'm sure Carson Downs will be back 2 weeks in Kentucky. Have you did any testing there at Kentucky?
Not yet. It's one of my favorite tracks. I got, I believe, a 4th place finish in pro, so I'm looking forward to it.
And we'll see the 97 team there next week. That is Carson Downs. And Joe, it's a finish that the 97 team did not want, and really at this point in the season cannot afford when you're looking at that top 20. But thankfully there is that one drop there that I'm sure will help Carson Downs and the team get back up into the top 20 in points, as it looks like we are getting ready to double up.
As they get ready to double up, pace car lights are on for at least one more round. They'll probably go off this next time by. The good news is when you have the drop available, when you have it working in your advantage, you can use it. But again, looking forward in this schedule, looking forward at what these guys are going to have to go through. They got Talladega in 4 weeks, Indy in 6 weeks. Then they got a little bit of reprieve in New Hampshire, Michigan, Atlanta. Then you got Chicagoland, Kansas, Dover, Homestead at the very end of the season. Looking in front of me, I don't know if I'd want to have my drop to be used pre-New Hampshire. Let's put it that way. After that, if they haven't used their drop, they're in excellent position to not only be in the season next year, but to have a good run towards the championship this year.
Number of cars down here on pit road trying to fix their cars for this X race. Adam Gilliland, a lot of damage in that last wreck. He's pretty much going to be out of it for the rest of the day. He's got 2 minutes worth of required damage, which he got that fixed, but they still got 15 minutes worth of damage on that car before it's going to be able to get going. I got Peter Bennett's crew working really hard down here on pit road. They have 4 minutes worth of damage left to fix on that car, and then they'll be on their way.
I know we've been trying to track down some of the other drivers that have been involved in the wrecks early tonight. Rich Doucette is not happy. He's declined an interview in the number 96 team. I know there's a couple of more drivers that, as Nim mentioned, are trying to get back out on the racetrack to try to do a little bit of damage control, essentially what it is right now. Because of the fact that we talked about the one drop, it's still a long season. We still have 10 races to go after this one. So you might very well have to use that drop at some other point this season. You really don't want to use it here if you don't have to. So they're trying to get every single point that they can. I know the 92 car, Casey Malone, we talked about how damaged that race car is. It looks a little bit better. See if we can't get a camera on the number 92 as he comes on to pit road. It looks a little bit better. It's still towed out a little bit, but it is 7 laps down in position number 38. I'm sure if you're the 92 team, Joe, you're hoping for a few more caution laps, at least get out there under caution and make a couple of more laps so you're not finishing outside the top 35 in this race.
Lights are out. One more to go before we're back to green flag racing. And absolutely, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. You need to run as many laps as you can because you're not sure if you want to use this race as your provisional, if you will. Like I said, look at the rest of the season. Talladega is going to be a challenge. Indianapolis will be a challenge. New Hampshire will be a challenge. Dover will be a challenge. I anticipate those are tracks that these guys would rather run a provisional on than here at Pocono Raceway. But that being said, it is called the Tricky Triangle for a reason. And if you're gonna run it, you have to go in with the understanding that it might not work to your advantage coming out.
And as you mentioned, the big one there might be Talladega coming up in 2 races' time when these guys go at it at a track that they haven't run in a couple of years, but obviously we had Daytona to start off the season, and that could very well throw a curveball into your plan, especially if you had a bad run at Daytona or you had a bad run between now and then. That would be used as your drop. Another bad run could be fatal in your championship hopes. We're getting ready to go green this time by. Ray Alfala will lead your field with Brian Schoenberg, Joey Brown, Carson McClellan, and Brandon Cattell made that move on that last restart to get up into position number 5. We'll see if he can do anything else here. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car into the infield, and Ray Alfala getting ready to go green, and Alfala is gone. Schoenberg on the outside as Joey Brown tries to make the move on the inside in the 12 as we fan out down the front straightaway, and looks like one car way down there going to make it 3 wide underneath Paul Kashiba. That's Brad Davies in the number 11 car.
Alfala wasting no time. Schoenberg immediately on his tail. Then they're too wide as the 05 looks like he makes wall or contact with the wall up there. That's Nick Ottinger. He might have brushed the wall. Look at his rear end. It looks like he's flattened that right side of the 05 Ream Machine out there. Now trying to get a lane, trying to figure out where he's going to run. He gets into the line in front of Marcus Lindsay. Electrical Problems, the 05. You continue to run out there, but everyone's a little bit worried now about how the 05 is going to run the rest of the way. At least I would be.
80 of Brandon Cattell was looking to make it 3 wide there for a moment as he looked to the inside of Joey Brown to try to take up a spot, but the 05 of Ottinger going at it along with the number 1 of Marcus Lindsay. The 80 of Brandon Cattell is there as well as they go at it. 4 positions, 4, 5, 6, 7 on back. As we go into corner number 1, we are 1/3 distance in this race now. Lap number 33 being worked on the board as the 1 and 11 go side by side at 7.
And look who's behind them. Your points leader, Tyler Hudson, now worked his way into 10th place, but he's fighting off Paul Kashiba for that position in 9th. They look off the rear end of the number 80 machine right now. That's Brandon Cattell. But as you see, he's got a battle in front of him behind him. He's got Brad Davies and Marcus Lindsay continuing to fight out there for position. Lindsay looks like he can take it, but he wants to be smart about it. He wants to be smart about when he gets around Davies and how.
33 around Brian Blackford, and I believe the 26 at Chad Lawton may have found trouble again as well as he's nosed up against the wall. Caution flag will fly yet again as Lawton and Blackford, the 2 drivers involved in this one here.
The 82 and the 60 car were side by side. That's Alex Warren. And the 60 car, or Alex Warren and the 60 car, they had some door-to-door contact coming through the tunnel turn, which is turn number 2. That got Alex Warren all out of shape and caused some issues for Blackford as he tried to get by. He lost control going down the short street, and a number of drivers involved.
Ray Alfala, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClelland, your top 3. And we asked Carson Downs and we asked Patrick Baldwin, Joe, about this. I called it a sense of urgency where you really had to go. And it looks like Karlavich really didn't give a whole lot of room to the inside driver, Alex Warren. We are 1/3 of the way through this race. We've seen a lot of respect. We've seen a caution-free race earlier this season. We've seen a lot of respect to these drivers, but it looks like this evening, at least, it seems like outside your top 10, a lot of that respect level has gone out the window, and I'm sure that will reflect in the incident report, and we might have a lighter field when we head to Kentucky.
Tim, I'm not going to tell you the things, I'm not going to repeat the things I've heard and seen, not only in the text chat, but in the voice chat between the drivers here. They are not being polite out here. They are being very, very aggressive as it looks like we get ready for pit stops. This could be the best racing on track right now as Ray Alfala will lead them down to the attention of Nim Cross and Ray. It looks like you've got Ray, you got Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClelland, Joey Brown. What's going on down on pit road, Nim?
It looks like all the drivers will be coming down. We're reaching lap number 35 here. So, there'll be 2 pit stops from here. So this opens the windows to make it on one more stop after we have this. So everybody's going to want to take 4 tires and fuel. There's going to be a long run that comes up because with all these cautions, we're losing cars. So eventually, we're going to have a good long run here, hopefully. And these guys are just preparing for that because they can make it from here on one more stop. And if we go green from here, they'll be set to go.
Ray Alfala is going to come off here at about 8th or 9th place off pit road, and I believe we saw some 2-tire stops from Steve Sheehan and the like. Steve Sheehan, fuel only in the 6, as he will be down and away. The 12, Joey Brown, was a fairly quick stop as well, but Brown took 2 tires. So 6, fuel only, the 12, 2 right sides. Everybody else behind, I believe, either took 2 or 4, as we are going to step away and take a pit stop of our own. We'll be back in a couple of moments' time when we go green at Pocono. Lap 35 being worked on the board.
for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing World Welcome back to the Pocono Raceway, and we are 1/3 distance in this event. Jake Sturgis, Robert Hall, Brandon Schmidt, Derek Crone all stayed out on the racetrack under that last caution flag, or this caution flag I should say, to get some track position. By the looks of it, Steve Sheehan fuel only on his stop, everybody else behind at least 2 tires on their stop, as the French Connection Cyril Nussbaum will get the wave around this time, and he will be back on the lead lap. 33 drivers scored on the lead lap in this event. There goes Nussbaum as he will rejoin at the tail of this field. We're going to see some different strategies, I think, here, Joe, with a lot of these caution laps taking place. It may as well throw a little bit of strategy into this.
It's going to have to be a strategy game at this point, Tim. I mean, looking at some of the stats from this first third of the race, it took us an hour to run 37 laps. Of all the entire race, we've only had 9 green flag laps. So now, if you know the race is going to go this way, it is no longer so much about position in racing. Now it's about strategy. How do I keep my car clean? How do I keep myself incident-free? And how do I keep this car that got underneath me moving forward, racing for the win?
You still got a lot of time to look at the win. As we say, usually it's about 75% of getting there and then 25% of battling it out for the victory. When we look at that, that would leave us with 25 to go in this race. Ride maybe for the first 75 laps and put yourself in a position to win. And right now we're sitting on lap 37, so we're sitting about halfway towards that 75 lap mark that we'd be looking at right now. We still got a long way to go in this event. Jake Sturgis is your leader, former winner at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in this series on fuel mileage, as he ran strong in the Pro Series last year. Ever since he's teamed up with Last Row Motorsports, it seems like it's really rejuvenated his sim racing career, at least on the oval side of things. We'll see what he can do here. Pace car in, the NX number 41 getting ready for green, and there he goes. Robert Hall to his outside. Green flag flies, and we're back underway. Derek Crone a little slow getting going in position number 4. Schmidt underneath, and it's going to stack everybody up behind as we have Schoenberg and Jason Kartlavich to the inside.
Jake Sturgis wasting no time. He says, if I can get up front and I can lead this race, I'll have little to worry about. But behind him, he's got Robert Hall, who's been strong all night. Derek Crone now in third. Brandon Schmidt, who's involved in an incident earlier, he's not working his way up through the field, as we got some 2-wide racing brewing around Ray Alfalla and current points leader Tyler Hudson. Tyler Hudson not able to hold that high side. The 8 and 2 going to go by him very quickly. And look who's up there as well. The number 93 machine, that ParkerClearman.com Ford Fusion of Byron Daly. He's going to challenge your points leader as well.
Ray Alfalla nearly bought the farm off corner number 1. He slid it to the outside as we get some drivers out back swapping a little bit of paint, and Brandon Cattell is up the racetrack, and he's going to lose a bunch of positions here. It's hard to keep track of everything, Joe, as we see the 39 and 8 side by side in front of the 2 of Alfala. I was about to say, as Robert Hall goes to the top of the board, it's hard to keep track of everything around here. Alfala got loose off 1. He went to the inside, and he's really been pushing the issue here to try to pick up every position that he can. But then again, we've seen it almost at about every driver as Brad Davies tank slaps a wall off 1.
39 almost shoves the 93 down into the grass. The 93 is going to get back around and going to get him back by just passing him here in the turn. So now the score, the number 93 of Byron Daly, another position up. Ray Alfala is on a tear right now. He's trying to make up as many positions as he can in as short a time as possible. He gets around the 3. Now he wants a piece of the 8 as well. Dustin Montgomery not going to let him back without a challenge, but Dustin Montgomery may not have a choice as they start to come down for turns 1 and 2.
Here comes Joey Brown on the inside of Derek Crone. He will pick up position number 3. Crone crossover to the inside of the number 12 Barley Electrical Chevrolet. Sheehan looks on from position number 5. Just behind them, Alfala and Montgomery going at it. But it looks like Brown will take the spot away from Derek Crone, and now Crone will have to play defense on the 6 of Steve Sheehan. I think this is the closest we've seen Crone up to the front since probably Daytona or so, as Crone tries to hold on to the spot over Steve Sheehan. This is the battle for 4th. As here comes Ray Alfala. Alfala putting himself into the battle 3 wide, going into corner number 3. They get it back to 2 wide as Alfala picks up a bunch of spots here. Sheehan trying to swat some flies back here.
Alfala got a huge push for that 3 machine of Schmidt, and that's what got him around the 6. The 6 didn't do himself any favors either, as Sheehan definitely got into the wall and brushed it, allowing the 2 to go around him. Now a battle for 3 wide. It's going to be the 8 up top. It's going to be the 3 in the middle, and 93 now at the bottom. 93 and 3 almost making contact. 24 getting a little crunch back there. They're all able to get through it, but the 24 and 3 losing the battles coming off the turn.
So the 8 car will get out of that with a spot. The 3 and 01. Here comes Tyler Hudson to the inside, and they made that work somehow, at least for now. Side by side, stacked 3 deep. 6 car dance for the spot as Ottinger throws the block on Schoenberg, and that's one person you don't want to throw a block on, as Schoenberg is coming up for the 05 of Ottinger. The 1, Marcus Lindsay, is there as well. And boys, we are not even to the halfway point in this race, and Schoenberg gets turned in the middle of the field, and he is into the fence. I believe we might have saved it.
Yeah, it looks like he did save it. In fact, 39 just got a little loose on him. The race is still on. 55, not in a good place, though, as a result of that incident. Meanwhile, back up front, there's they continue to battle for that position, and it's going to be Joey Brown now in 2nd. Jake Sturgis drops to 3rd, and Robert Hall's got a huge lead on this field right now, currently almost a 2nd over everybody. Ray Alfala still in 5th, looking to get around Derek Crone, but that ain't going to happen anytime soon.
05 of Ottinger, the 24 of McClellan, I believe that's Brandon Schmidt back there, the 60, the 80, the 39. This is where we need to be watching, because the bomb was about to tick off, and I think it's starting to tick off here around this position again as Marcus Lindsay gets up on the back bumper of Brandon Schmidt. To the inside he goes. The 60 of Karlavich is back here as well. This is where it's about to go off, I believe, Joe, because it almost went off with Schoenberg at the 39.
Schoenberg now being scored 19th on the field. If you want to talk about a driver who's got a lit fuse, it's that 55 driver. It's the driver of that 55 machine. He is, I guarantee you, he is fuming right now in his car. Chad Lawton trying to get the move on Michael Connie for position. Meanwhile, they continue to run 2 wide, especially between the 91 and 39. They're 2 wide right now in front of them. The 60 and 3 get 2 wide as well. Now the 05, Nick Ottinger's got the 101 of Tyler Hudson and his sights. And the 2 wide battles continue all around the track.
Brandon Cattell already shown this evening he is not afraid to stick it 3 wide, and they almost did it going into corner number 3. But as we watch that, keep a half eye on the battle for 2nd, 3rd area as Sturgis is putting pressure on Ray Alfala as Alfala begins to pull away a little bit here from the number 41 car. Sheehan in 5th. Daly is trying to clear Crone at position number 6. Looks like he will do that as about your top 10 single file, Joe. Then from about 12 on back, Marcus Lindsay down the racetrack and into the grass on the long pond there. I'm not sure what happened there, if he had any contact to go down there, but Lindsay is off the pace.
Lindsay saves it. But the problem is he is off pace. He's going to have to throw the block to the guys behind him. He throws a nice block out there to Chad Lawton, to Brian Blackford. Michael Conti, however, is a little bit impatient. He's going to try to make something work for him right now as he goes to the inside of that Brian Blackford machine out there. Blackford has nothing to do but yield. And meanwhile, behind him is Brian Schoenberg, still scored 23rd, loses several more positions out there, but he is not giving up just yet.
We got battles all over this racetrack. Ottinger and the 8 are going at it. I know the 80 back there, Brandon Cattell, is involved in a pack with Carl Lavage. The 3, Josh Berry, Brad Davies, Paul Kashiba. All those drivers back there. Brian Blackford, I just caught him out of the corner of my eye making a pass back here on Marcus Lindsay as Lindsay continues to fall back. The 89, and look who's back there as well, Joe. 55 of Brian Schoenberg to the inside of the number 1. John Adams is back there as well. These are all lead lap cars, but these are all cars that might have got involved in some damage a little bit earlier. They're sitting back outside the top 20.
Definitely cars that have been damaged and are off pace and are a little bit hurt out there, but they can still battle amongst themselves, and points are points no matter how you get them. Ray Alfalla still in 3rd. He's got a little bit of distance gained on the 12 of Joey Brown, who a couple of laps ago made contact with that outside wall, so that right side now getting a little damage on that 12 machine could open the door for the 2, but both these guys have over a second to make up on your current leader, Robert Hall, who's in his own time zone at this point.
Robert Hall, the Sim Chassis team, we talked about them off the top of the show. They were going to be quick, and Robert Hall is proving it right now as he is out in front with Joey Brown, Ray Alfalla, Sheehan, and Sturgis. Your top 5, Byron Daly in 6th, but one of the drivers that's on the move just made the move for 7th. It's Nick Ottinger as he passed Eric Crone. He's coming to the front.
And as he continues to make his way through the front, let's take a look at some of the other battles here through the field. Jake Sturgis continues to hold off Byron Daly in that number 93 machine. The battle now is between the 01 and the 24 machine. Carson McClellan doing everything he can to get around Tyler Hudson as they duck into 3. They're going to make the Carson McClellan will make that pass. Meanwhile, the battle is now for 2nd as the 12 of Joey Brown trying to get around Ray Alfalla. Is it going to work? Ray Alfalla doing everything he can to try to make it work to get around him. It's going to happen. This time by as they go into the 3rd turn. It's Ray Alfalla getting the pass on Joey Brown for 2nd.
And we'll see if Alfalla can pull away now and try to make any sort of ground on Robert Hall in the number 30. The Pro Geek Consulting Ford up to position number 2. Ray Alfalla dispatches the Barley Electrical number 12 of Joey Brown back to position number 3. Watch for Byron Daly back here in the number 93 as he begins to make a move on the 41 and 6 car. This is a train right now from about 4th all the way back to, I want to say, around 11th place or so with Carson McClellan back there in the 24 car. As you ride on board with 3 wide Daly, trying to make it 2 wide on the number 41 of Sturgis. He will pick up the spot here, and he'll try to go up the racetrack. 41, does he go down to the inside with a crossover? Yes, he does. The 41 trying to make the move here. Ottinger looks on. It's going to close in the 05, but Daly will clear Sturgis. Sturgis fighting back in the number 41. The battle's not over yet. Daly wants to get a little bit of breathing room in the PK Ford Fusion, and it looks like he will do so here. So move Byron Daly up to the top 5, and I don't know if you caught it earlier in the week, Joe, as Ottinger moves underneath the number 41 of Jake Sturgis for the spot. Byron Daly was on Parker Kligerman's YouTube channel with a little bit of an interview, so if you're interested in seeing Byron Daly chat a little bit with Parker Kligerman, you want to head to parkerkligerman.com for that one.
Another interesting note that I caught on Twitter tonight, Parker Kligerman is supposed to have a major announcement on YouTube tomorrow morning. So parkerkligerman.com, check that out. It might be a very interesting announcement. He's saying a very big announcement, so you never know what happens. As you ride along the rear bumper, Nick Ottinger, he makes the pass around Jake Sturgis, so Nick Ottinger will now get in the top 6, and you know he's got that Byron Daly machine in his sights, 1 position away from being in the top 5.
As you look at the 41 of Sturgis and the 07 of Crone, it looks like Crone has settled into a position now, and a great run for the 07 so far after being spun out a little bit earlier in this race. Joe, he's up within the top 10, and just behind them another driver that dominated early. Carson McClellan started on the pole, and he's looking at Dustin Montgomery for a position. The 8 car is looking to have a good run here this evening after having a couple of runs at the start of the season that he would like to forget about.
Carson McClellan now has got a run back in 10th position on Dustin Montgomery. Dustin Montgomery going to be able to get up to pinch him down, though. And now Derek Crone's going to give him a hand as well. So the 24 trying to get the position. Not going to happen this time by Tim. Interesting fact at this point, which normally wouldn't be a fact anywhere else. We've been green now for 10 laps. Let's not jinx anything.
On.
24 slides up, has to check up a little bit. That's going to open the door for the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson, your points leader, currently running in 10. That also gives a second win to that 24 machine of Carson McClellan, as he's going to dive underneath the 41, and he's going to pick up position. Now here comes 0-1 as well. He knows when to get on the gravy train, and this might be his ticket to getting position. If the 0-7 can hold on tight with him, the 0-1 will pick up the 9th position. 0-1 now getting help from the 0-7, and yep, Tyler Hudson moves up to the 9th position, or maybe, yep, the 9th position, if he can stay around. Now the facing lap traffic of the 20 of Danny Hansen being scored 32nd.
as Danny Hansen falls back behind these drivers. And we mentioned Danny Hansen's struggles this season as he's trying to put something together, trying to get as many points as he can to try to have something for the top 20 in the standings when this season is all said and done. Carson McClellan holds off the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson right now, your point leader in the 0-1, trying to piece together another great run. And we talked about Ottinger lighting it up this season, but we've seen before in different racing series, consistency wins championships. I don't know if you can win a championship in this series without winning a race. Tyler Hudson has yet to win a points race. He won the non-points race shootout earlier at Daytona. I don't think, Joe, you can win the race, or win this championship, I should say, without winning a race. With the way it's been, Ray Alfala the last 2 years has won numerous races en route to his championships. Tyler Hudson, though, I'm sure he wants to win a race badly in this series. He has yet to do so this season. I'm sure we might even see the 0-1 with a checkered flag in victory lane, but he's got the point lead right now. I'm sure a championship the championship pays a lot more than a win, I guess.
I think if you're giving me the option of a championship or a race win, I would rather take the championship. And as you look at the challenges around him, Tyler Hudson currently holds the lead. Brian Schoenberg second. He's damaging off pace. Marcus Lindsay is third right now. Marcus Lindsay is currently being scored outside the top 20 as Brandon Schoenberg comes down to pit road. Ray Alfala, Michael Conning, Nick Ottinger, all definite threats to take it away. But right now, for Tyler Hudson, the rest of his season's about staying solid and staying continuous throughout the season. If he can continually have good runs, he's going to have a good shot at being the first champion to walk away without a win all season long.
So the 24 gets by the 8 here for position number 7. So Carson McClellan will try to move in once again. Meanwhile, back up front, keeping a half eye on to see what goes on there, is Steve Sheehan and Byron Daly are going at it. Daly to the inside, and will pick up the spot on Sheehan. Your top 2 status quo, still about a second and a quarter between your first and second place drivers, but now Alfala has a little bit of company in the 12 and the 05. Ottinger continues to march to the front of the field in the Ream 05, and he's up to position number 4 with 2 drivers in front of him. He might be second here before this little run is over.
This is potentially good news and bad news for the driver of that 2 machine, as a 12 of Joey Brown lets Nick Ottinger around, and he's going to make a move now to get up to that 3rd place position. Again, this is potentially good news and bad news. If the 2, the 05, and the 12 can all line up to have a little mini draft of their own, they might have a faster chance of catching up to Robert Hall, especially when it's time to go to green flag pit stops for these guys. That's exactly what they want at this point. Barring that, they're either going to need to play the pit stop game strategy better than Robert Hall, or number 2, they need a yellow flag. But again, none of the drivers out here want that yellow flag right now. They've already had enough at the first half of the race, and they are antsy to continue this good green flag run.
So now with Ottinger in position number 3, how much pressure does he put on Ray Alfala in the 2? We saw them duel it out a little bit earlier in this race, so we'll see if there's any urgency for Ray Alfala to keep that spot, or Ottinger will try to take it away from him. Keep an eye on that battle for position number 2 as they go into corner number 1, and Ottinger is there on Alfala. Alfala gives him that inside line, but Ottinger wants to run that middle groove, and so does Ray Alfala. They almost have a moment in corner number 1. The Ream Chevrolet looking at position number 2 on the 2-time champ Ray Alfala, and Robert Hall has got to be loving this up in front, Joe, because if they get side by side, he'll get to pull away a little bit.
If they can get a draft, they can start pulling away a little bit. It certainly wouldn't surprise me as you see the 05 Nick Ottinger once again trying to make the move. Alfala quick to block. You're seeing it again right here. The position game being played right here on track. Alfala knows he cannot afford to lose position to the 05. If he does, that might be the last position time he sees P2 all night.
Robert Hall is 1.2 seconds out in front of Ray Alfala and Nick Ottinger. Joey Brown falling back a little bit now in 4th, and if he continues to fall back, Byron Daly and Steve Sheehan will close in on him. Lap number 60 being worked on the board. We still have 31 drivers on the lead lap of this race. 43 drivers started this event, and looking back through the field, I believe we still have 35 of those starters out on the racetrack as Schoenberg in the 55. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what he was doing at a corner number 1, but he was pointed towards the infield there. I'm not sure if we can get a replay on the 55 or not, but that was scary.
So once again, Schoenberg is going to save that car, and he's going to keep making it go the right direction. The problem is he's back in 26th, and if the guys behind and the guys way up front can continue their great run, he might lose a couple position, at least one position, maybe two, when the unofficial points are released at the end of this race. Robert Hall still is your leader, but he's now Ray Alfalla and Nick Ottinger starting to get a run on him, almost just a second away from your leader.
Yeah, they made some time up on Robert Hall that last time by 55.01 for Robert Hall and a 54.89 for Ray Alfalla that last time by. So the better part of 2/10 that last time by for the number 2 of Alfalla on the 30 of Robert Hall. Ottinger is there in position number 3, and he pokes the nose underneath the 2 car in the middle of corner number 3, but can't get that run, can't get that lane there. He'll get the run into corner number 3. Does he go to the inside down the straightaway, as it looks like he will be tucked up behind the 2 going down the straightaway and into corner number 1 right here. So Alfalla continues to run in second. It looks like he lost a little bit of time that time on Robert Hall, not by much though.
Alfalla, Ottinger continuing to run in line right now, and it looks like Ottinger is going to be content to hold behind Ray Alfalla, which again isn't the worst thing in the world. These two get up and get caught up with Robert Hall. It might mean they're going to be able to challenge him on pit road, where I think you're going to see the pass or the move that will ultimately win this race if we can stay under green flag conditions. Joey Brown stuck by himself right now. Byron Daly in 5th, Steve Sheehan in 6th, Carson McClellan 7th, and the field now really starting to split up a little bit. This is typical what you see here at Pocono, when these guys can get a little bit of a good run by themselves and stretch out this track for everything it's worth.
05 laying the pressure on the 2 of Alfalla at position number 2, but just I don't know if he doesn't want to make the move or if he maybe is pushing Ray Alfalla a little bit harder to keep ahead of the 05. Alfalla really competitive as the rest of the drivers are in this field, so maybe Nick trying to push him a little bit harder than he wants to go right now. Brown continues to run in position number 4 with Byron Daly and Steve Sheehan back there in 5th and 6th place respectively. We see little pockets of battles. We see the 41 and 80 side by side as Brandon Cattell picks up a spot and he moves to position number 11. It looks like the 32 of Paul Kashiba is closing in on Brad Davies. Little 4-car battle back there for position number 11. But it seems like other than that, we really see a couple of 2-car battles. They swap the position and then everybody keeps moving on. And that's what we would have been waiting to see, as I see a lot of smoke out of the corner number 3 area. It looks like somebody may have blew a motor on pit road here.
Looking for that car that blew an engine on pit road. We're trying to figure out who that was that ended his night early. We'll try to figure out how that car a little bit later. And once we know, I'm being told now it is a 29 machine. The Alpine Stars Chevrolet of Kevin King that was involved in that incident earlier. After damage, that engine gave up, and he is going to be done for the night. Meanwhile, 2 guys that are very far from being done, Ray Alfalla and Nick Ottinger, now combined just under a second behind your leader. These guys have got it figured out, and they're going to start charging towards your leader to start making a move at the end of this race.
Want to go down to Nimcross on pit road here, and we are starting to see that green flag run. What are these guys talking about on fuel? When do we see them on pit road? Is it a 1-stop race or a 2-stop race from here? What are these guys saying?
Well, everybody's got to make one more stop. They start pitting probably in about 4 or 5 laps to make it to the end. So we might see some people short pit and then try the long run to the end. And we might see some guys out. They pitted last on lap 35 or so. So they should be able to go to about lap 70 before they have to pit again. So anywhere from now to lap 70, you'll start seeing pit stops.
So we'll keep a half eye on that, as well as these guys getting close to that window, as Nim mentioned, Joe. Robert Hall continues to lead. It's 0.8 of a second, and it looks like Alfalla now's put a little bit of a gap on the 05 of Nick Ottinger.
You can definitely, it looks like you can definitely say that right now as Alfala continues to lead out there. The 05 hit the rumble strips going into one of those turns out there, and that did not help his cause. The 05 is going to trail behind just a little bit, but don't be surprised to get him, watch him get caught up real quickly. You know why? Because Alfala can't make the charge on Hall by himself. They're picking up about half a lap or about a half second every lap out there. So Alfala needs Ottinger. I don't think he's going to slow down to let him to get him, but I don't think he's going to fight him too hard to keep that big lead between the two of them.
It looks like the 41 of Sturgis lost 2 spots as it's side by side with the 2 drivers in front of him that he just lost the positions to. It's Paul Kashiba and Brad Davies side by side. Sturgis is coming in this time by. He was one of those drivers that stayed out on our last caution. So watch for the 81 to peel off here, or the 41 as well, as the 11 and 32 going at it. As we got more drivers in front. Your leaders on the pit road. Robert Hall coming down them.
Yeah, these guys, they got 35 laps to get from here. That's going to be right at the beginning of the fuel window, right at the end of this stint, beginning of the next one, and they should be able to make it from here, but they're going to have to be conservative on what they're doing out there, and they're going to have to keep an eye on their fuel mileage. A couple of these guys, they want to make a couple more laps to make it a little bit more safe, but there are a number of drivers, Ray Alfala, Brandon Catello, and Paul Kashiba's crew up on the wall. They'll be pitting next time by.
Watch for the 2 to come in. We'll see what the 05 does, whether he follows him in or maybe stays out and gets that extra bonus point for leading a lap here this evening. The Pro Geek Ford of Ray Alfala expected to head to pit road this time off corner number 3 as they will come down out of the 3rd corner. Ottinger will stay out and get that bonus point as Ray Alfala will come on to pit road here. He'll woe it down to the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. He's got a couple of friends behind him as well. I think Brandon Cattell is one of those coming in. Paul Kashiba also heading towards pit road as Nem, the 2 of Alfala, is headed towards you.
Yeah, it's a long pit road here. 40 or 55 mile an hour is the speed limit, and into the stall goes Ray Alfala as he's on pit road now, as you said. Cattell and Kashiba also coming down pit road. 4 tires for Ray Alfala, full of fuel, and he should be on his way and set for the rest of the race.
Nick Ottinger in the 05 is your leader as he comes up at a corner number 2. He'll look towards 3, and he should be in pit road this time by as Nim. I'm hearing there might be a blown motor here.
Yeah, Michael Conte just had his motor go south, probably from damage from that earlier wreck he was in, but Mike Conte out of the race.
Ottinger stays out here. Steve Sheehan stays out. Carson McClellan, Dustin Montgomery, and Tyler Hudson. And Hudson just made the move on Dustin Montgomery for that spot. So that's your top 5. It looks like everybody behind them, well, Brad Davies, Josh Berry, a couple of drivers still out here on the racetrack is Chad Lawton, Jason Karlavich, and Alex Warren to make up the balance of the top 10 right now.
Meanwhile, a little bit back through the field, the 8 of Dustin Montgomery trying to get around a lap 33 machine. And as he tries to fight that one, the big one I'm looking at is Nick Ottinger right now, who holds the lead solely right now, 2 seconds over Steve Sheehan and a lifetime over Robert Hall and Ray Alfala, who are once again only about a half second away from each other. 05 has not thrown his hand out yet. And I've got a feeling he might be trying to make a play here. Here he comes. Never mind. Here he comes. Nick Ottinger slows it down and is now coming to the attention of Dim Cross.
Yeah, Tyler Hudson headed his way down the pit road. The 6 car is Steve Sheehan, the 24 car on pit road. A number of drivers making their way down pit road now. Safe to make it from here on fuel. They'll get 4 tires and they'll be ready to go. No more pit stops from here on out.
Ottinger in the 05 now getting service on his race car. Right side tires going on the Rheem Chevrolet SS as we will get 4 tires on the 05 and he'll be down and away. Jack's dropped and he is gone. Josh Lawton coming in just behind him in the TC's Custom Diecast number 40. As you see 3 wide coming off of pit road, Sheehan, Montgomery, and Hudson heading it back towards the racetrack with Brad Davies just behind them.
What a race off pit road, as ultimately the winner is going to be that driver of that 6 machine is Steve Sheehan. Tyler Hudson behind him, Dustin Montgomery behind him. Not unhappy with their position, but would have liked it to be a little bit better. Right now, the 05 currently still being scored as your leader, but I've got a feeling that is going to change when we get back around to the start-finish line here at the Tricky Triangle.
Josh Berry is now in. He did not lead a lap on that exchange, but 4 tires and down and away in the Speedco number 91. Matt Boosa at the other end of pit road is in as well, Nim.
Yeah, Matt Boosa came down pit road. He was able to lead a lap on the pit lane as he came across the stripe here. The 91 car, Josh Berry, you said was in. He's on his way down pit road, and he's back on his way. As Boosa, his car goes down after 4 tires and fuel, he'll be back on the track.
So this should cycle through as Ray Alfala as your leader now, with Robert Hall in position number 2. So looks like a little bit of quick work from Alfala's team, and we'll put him in the lead position here when it cycles through this time.
And that is going to be a great position Ray Alfala wants to be in. This is exactly what he was planning for. He was planning to be up front here, to make the move up front, and to stay there. So Alfala, now his biggest challenge is, number 1, getting the car to keep moving, and number 2, keep the 30 off his tail. If he can do that, he might be able to score a big win that's going to catapult his chances at being your first three-peat champion in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship.
It cycles back to Ray Alfala as your leader, with Robert Hall, Joey Brown, Nick Ottinger, and running in 5th is Brandon Cattell. A great move as well by Cattell and the crew to get himself into position number 5 in front of McClellan, Daly, Sheehan, Crone, and Hudson. It looks like your big losers here, maybe Daly and Sheehan, who were battling for 5th, who are now battling for position number 7, is back here around 12th place. I believe it's side by side. Check that, 11th. Kashiva and Montgomery side by side, 32 and 8.
The 05 and Nick Ottinger makes a bold move around that number 12 machine of Joey Brown, and Joey Brown loses a position now. He drops back to 4th. Nick Ottinger's up to 3rd, and Nick Ottinger is not going to be the one who's going to give away a race so quickly. He knows that he can get up front and get back there, and so he's going to do everything he can to make that happen. Alfala passing the lap to the 92 of Casey Malone, the Great Mercer Trucking Chevrolet of Casey Malone. Alfala will continue to lead, and now he's got, looks like, about 4 car lengths between him and Robert Hall, not to be counted out. Nick Ottinger, who wants to get back up there and challenge for the win.
And as you mentioned, Alfala pulling away right now from Robert Hall in position number 2, about 0.4 of a second, 4 car lengths or so between those two drivers. And now Ottinger has freed himself from Joey Brown. We'll see what Ottinger can do, and he's chasing his 4th win of the season. Was close here, as we mentioned, last year at this race, but did not come out with the victory. Came out with position number 4 when all was said and done for the Ream Chevrolet. Up at a corner number 3 this time, we will complete the 73rd lap right here.
73rd lap, and we are continuing to run clean and caution-free. And now look who's in the mix. Nick Ottinger, only a stone's throw away from Robert Hall. On paper, it's about a second between him and your leader, but less than that between the 30 and the 05. So now we got a battle brewing for second, and if these guys can catch up, we might have a battle for first very soon, as Ray Alfala sits comfortably in first. It wouldn't surprise me if that's not going to be long, though. Something also of note, your top 3, Alfala, Hall, Ottinger, 1.2 seconds away between the 3 of them. Your next competitor, Joey Brown, over a second away from the 3 of them. So this 3 might be breaking up here, breaking away from the field to get a 3-car finish.
And it's well over 4 seconds from Brown back to Cattell in that battle for position. Ottinger looking at Robert Hall for position number 2 off corner number 3. The 05 to the inside of the 30, going to make light work of the Sim Chassis number 30. Move Ottinger to second, and we'll see what he can do here. I want to go back to this battle around 5th place. Sheehan has the position in the 6, and then it's Brandon Cattell, Carson McClellan. Now McClellan looking underneath the number 80 of Brandon Cattell. He will take position number 6 away. Cattell in the 80. It seems like, Joe, he's a little bit better on the longer run, as the 6 is Sheehan may have barely scraped the wall off the corner. You see the 80 of Cattell to the inside of the number 24 as they go at it with the 6 of Sheehan. This is your battle for 5th.
Battle for 5th continues, as McClellan doing everything he can to get around Sheehan. Sheehan did not have that clean entry. Now here comes the 24 of McClellan. You know he's going to be disappointed that he's this far back. He has no problem making the move, and the Purelator Chevy will get in front of the 6 machine. The 6 machine, also almost getting the 80 of Cattell loose down there. Cattell's able to save it, but he's going to drop way back from this top group.
So the 80, you could tell, will fall back a little bit here. We'll see if he can do anything on the long run. As you ride on board with Steve Sheehan, he chases your pole sitter, Carson McClellan. And the one thing Carson will need now is a late caution. 25 laps to go in this race and 7 seconds to make up on this run. I don't think he can do it without the help of a caution with the way the 4 in front of him are running.
Another guy who could use the caution is 05 of Nick Ottinger. He is catching up on Ray Alfalla, but it seems like an eternity between those two right now. Though it wouldn't surprise me if you see Nick Ottinger continue to drive the wheels off his car to try to challenge Ray Alfalla for the win. More importantly, there are two big firsts that could come here if Alfalla is able to continue running up front. Number one, it could be the very first Ford we see win in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, and more importantly for Ray Alfalla, it could be his first win on the season, which would catapult his chances at winning another championship.
Oh, the 01 of Tyler Hudson nearly got the 80 in the corner. Brandon Cattell playing a little bit of defense right now. I think if he knows he lets that position up, he's got the 8 behind the 01 as well, that he'll lose the spot to. Brandon Cattell in the number 80. Trying to hold on to a top 10 run. He's had a fantastic season so far and trying to continue it up here as Byron Daly just about 3 car lengths off this battle as Paul Kashiba looking to the inside of him. That's the battle for 10th and 11th place. Byron Daly trying to come home with a top 10 run here in the Parker Kligerman Ford as they come up at a 3 down the straightaway. 77 laps completed for your leaders as Alfalla about to have some company here, I think, in these next few laps, because Nick Ottinger is closing up on the number 2 car. Last time by, he was 0.3 of a second quicker than the 2.
0.3 of a second, which could spell bad news for Ray Alfalla. If Alfalla is not able to keep up and start moving in front of him, he could very well get past out there on the track. Meanwhile, battles up front, 24 and 6 continue to battle back and forth, and I don't think there's going to be any love lost between these two cars as they continue to battle out for that 5th place position. Your points leader Tyler Hudson currently sitting 8th, and then there's Byron Daly rounding out the top 10. He wants to get up front in front of that 32. Paul Kashiba not letting him in.
Yeah, Kashiba just took that spot. Byron Daly wants it back, and we'll see how much pressure the 93 can put on the 32. Maybe Byron Daly's thinking maybe he'll wear his stuff out and maybe he'll come back to me on this run. As you look back out at the 93 of Byron Daly there, as you see a couple of drivers there up in front of Byron Daly. Oh, close quarters, the 01 in the grass in corner number 1, trying to get the 80 of Brandon Cattell. I think Tyler Hudson's a little bit hungry here. The 8 of Dustin Montgomery, his teammate, they might swap that position there, Joe, and see if Dustin Montgomery doesn't have any luck there with the 80.
Tyler Hudson on the outside, and that is not the place to be if you want to make a pass. Dustin Montgomery makes the move. Byron Daly now trying to make the move as well, and they are going to dump that 01 machine. Uh-oh, look who's coming along for the party as well. That's going to be the number 93 of Byron Daly. He's going to want to make that move. Can he do it? It's going to be tough. 01 once again wiggling. He might have some tires going down or something in that car to make him move that way, but his car should not be moving like that on the outside. Byron Daly looks like he'll get around the 01 of Tyler Hudson this time by, whether Tyler Hudson likes it or not. So Tyler Hudson drops out of the top 10, not where he wanted to be.
Want to bring him across in here as well, and I want to talk about Brandon Cattell. 7th place on the racetrack right now, 8th in the point standings. He's come up from the Pro Series. Very great run so far this season, but it looks like he's played a lot of defense so far. Tyler Hudson being fairly aggressive in that 01 as Tyler Hudson now has his hands full with Byron Daly. Brandon Cattell's had a pretty good season so far, but he nearly lost it there a couple of times going into 1.
Yeah, he definitely did. His car probably set up better for the long run, and he probably has a lot better, run for the long run. So he's trying to keep these guys in back of him, get some laps on these tires where he'll be strongest at the end of this race. Right now, like you said, he's in 7th position. He keeps Hudson behind him. Hudson back in 11th right now after that little excursion into the grass there. But right now, he's gaining some spots on Hudson, and that's what he needs to be doing right now.
Hudson to the inside of the 93 of Byron Daly, the 93 trying to hold off the 01, and look who's closing in as well, the driver who's had some trouble finishing races this season, Joe. Chad Lawton in position number 12, and if he can get up on the wheel here in these final 20 laps, he might have a top 10 finish.
With 20 to go, Alfala and Ottinger continue to lead out here. Then it's Joey Brown, Robert Hall, Carson McClellan. Everybody kind of spread out at this point. The biggest two I'm looking at are Byron Daly and Tyler Hudson. Tyler Hudson got his position back, so he's going to be scored in the 10th position when they come back to the start-finish line. Is Byron Daly going to be satisfied with that? Probably not. So I think the biggest battle we're going to see right here is between Daly and Hudson as they continue to go back and forth. Tyler Hudson needs this top 10 finish more than anything else he can do at this point in the track, because guess who's up front in this field? Alfala and Ottinger, both vying for his top spot in the standings here tonight.
Yeah, we'll get back to that race in 10th in just a few moments' time, because I have a feeling Ottinger's about to make a move on Alfala for the lead position, as Ottinger is there on the number 2. You look back from the 2 to the 05, and you see a whole lot of Ream on the hood of that Chevrolet SS. Up at a 3, down the front straightaway. 82 laps completed this time as the 05 is looking to make that move on the 2 car. 27 cars in the lead lap. A couple of more about to fall off that lead lap in front of your leader, as Brad Davies about to fall 1 lap down as Nick Ottinger looks to the outside. Danny Hansen out there as well, 3 wide as they lap the 20 car of Danny Hansen, and Ottinger is going to stick it on the outside, and I don't think it's going to stick there, but we almost had a positive lead on the outside.
Yeah, Nick Ottinger definitely debated he wanted to make that move. Now he's going to fall back to at least a 2.5 car lengths now on Ray Alfala. And as you watch that roof cam of Ottinger, you know he's exactly what he's going to do at this point. He's going to try to jump Ray Alfala into the turns, and he's going to run the entire, all the straights, he's going to run in the tire tracks of that number 2 machine. Ottinger realizes the time is running out. When we get back to the line, only 17 laps will remain in this contest. And if Ottinger wants to make the win, if he wants to move, he's got to make it now more than ever.
Keep a half eye on the battle for 3rd as well, as Brown and Hall are going at it, and I believe Hall may have taken position number 3 away, and he'll try to close in what he can. He's got 5 seconds between himself and your top 2. We saw this last year with Nick Ottinger trying to make the move on Steve Sheehan in the number 6. They went down into corner number 1. There was not enough room to shove 2 cars in 1 lane. And Nim, do you remember what happened there in corner number 1 with about 5 to go last year?
Yeah, there was a lot of beating and banging going on, which gave the win to somebody else. Ray and Ottinger, they're not so much. I'd be real surprised if they were like that. Ray definitely looking to gain some points after his lackluster performance so far this season. He's trying to get back up there. Ottinger, he's trying to put another win under the belt, so I think we're going to see the same type of thing again this year.
Ottinger, a very aggressive driver. Ray is one of those drivers that isn't aggressive unless he really has to be. A Johnny Benson sort of driver comes to mind when you don't get his feathers ruffled, or if you get his feathers ruffled, he'll possibly come after you and go a little bit harder. But Ray Alfala right now, 0.2 of a second between your top 2. Robert Hall has taken that position away from Joey Brown, and Carson McClellan, your lookout from the 24 to the 6. He had a couple of close moments there, Joe, as he was trying to battle around the 6, the 80, and the rest of this field.
Definitely dirt tracking around a couple of those turns, getting it sideways, but hey, at this point, whatever gets the job done, you only got 16 laps, you got to make the most of it. Carson McClellan would love to have that big top 5 for him. Steve Sheehan in 6th, Randy Cattell way back there in 7th. Meanwhile, all eyes remain on the top 2 positions. Ray Alfala and Nick Ottinger both breaking the 200-mile-per-hour mark in these Gen 6 cars, and Ottinger once again teasing that outside line. He's got the Ream logo at least on the outside, but nothing else can follow him, and he's going to fall back a car length and a half. Tim, the best thing I can think of right now, if you're Nick Ottinger, try to get the 2 to block high, and when he makes that mistake, go low and pick up your 4th win of the season.
but we saw that last year as well with those drivers trying to make a block. Here comes the 05 to the inside of the 2 of Alfala. He's going to give him a little bit of room, but not enough room. The 05 wanted a little bit more. He might be able to take the lead, though, here in 3, as the 2 is on the outside fighting back. Side by side, they'll drag race down the straightaway. Ottinger going to try to slam the door here, and he will take the lead away from the number 2 of Ray Alfala, and a little bit of pushing and shoving. Alfala to the inside of the 05 of Ottinger, and he wasn't very happy with the way that pass was made. Ottinger now has to try to pull away and run away with this, and we've seen these games before with this car, with this team, and Ray Alfala, I'm sure, is not one to buy into that. If Alfala can take the lead, and he possibly has to use the bumper on the 05, I wouldn't be surprised to see it at this point here, Joe.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of different things happen. Here's that too. Now on that 05 machine, like any other injective you'd like to use here. I know Tony's big on those, so I'll leave him to the injectives there. But the 2, nonetheless, doing everything he can to keep that 5 reeled in. And it wouldn't surprise me if the 2 doesn't make the move till there's not a whole lot of time left in this race. The 2 doesn't have the same tires that the 05 does. Maybe doesn't have the same fuel as the 05 does, but that's okay for both those cars, as the 2 might be a little bit lighter, might be able to get the move quicker and get around the 05. But right now, the 02 just biding his time, letting laps tick down. 13 to go, and the number 2 of Alfala just kind of waiting in wait, sitting in wait like a tiger in the grass.
We saw the 05 really quick closing in on the number 2 of Alfala, then waited to make the move, and now has made the move on the leader, and he's beginning to pull away from Ray Alfala. The only thing that might stop him here is if for some reason they are short on fuel, or they do get a caution flag and it bunches everybody back up. Ottinger right now, it might be his race to lose in the 05. Robert Hall runs in position number 3. Joey Brown has a battle on his hands back here for 4th between Brown, Sheehan, and McClelland, and Cattell is about 8 car lengths behind this battle, as well as I see Hudson and Daly continue to push and shove into corner number 1, into the corner of my eye. The lead might be starting to lengthen a little bit here, Joe, but from about 4th on back, this race is far from settled.
A lot of guys have got a lot of racing left to do in this race. We only got 12 to go right now. A moment ago, you watched the camera off the bumper of the 05 and Nick Ottinger, and you saw that gap widen and widen. It seems like there's a small canyon now between Alfala and Nick Ottinger, and Alfala's got to do everything he can if he wants to get back up here. Meanwhile, the biggest battle is for that 4th place position. Joey Brown trying to hold it down in 4th. Steve Sheehan wants to get the move around him. Now he's going to try to apply the bumper. Sheehan goes underneath the 12 as it comes to the start-finish line. It's going to be a battle at the turn that the 6 did not have the horsepower to win. Steve Sheehan doing everything he can to try to get that position on the 12. He'll try it again through turn 1, and this time it looks like he's going to get it.
The 12 and the 6 continue to go at it, as the 12 trying to hold off the 6. Here comes the 24 of Carson McClelland to the inside, and he will take the spot on Sheehan, and now the 24 will go after the 12 with Joey Brown for position number 4. As they keep swapping this position, it's going to close in Brandon Cattell. We've got a 4-way dance coming up here for position at number 4, as Joey Brown tries to hold off McClelland, Sheehan, and now Brandon Cattell looking at a top 5 finish here if he can get up on the wheel in these final 10 laps. As this time by, they'll come across the stripe and have 10 laps remaining at Pocono.
10 laps remaining at Pocono, and Tyler Hudson having trouble out there, made contact. Meanwhile, back up front, the Alfala got the break he needed. The 05 of Nick Ottinger touched the wall. He's touching the wall again. This opens the door for Alfala. Alfala gets the lead change, and now he's got to hold on for 10 more laps to get his first win of the season and the first win for Ford here in the Niswick Series.
Yeah, he hit the wall coming out of corner number 3, and we missed that as Alfala went back to the lead. Ottinger is going to try everything that he has left in the tank to get past the 2 of Ray Alfala, and Alfala capitalized on that position, and now Ottinger is back where he was before, Joe. It looks like he's got a little bit of speed. He's got back into the rhythm. but it took him how many laps to get past Ray Alfalla the first time, albeit we're closing in on the finish, and maybe more of a sense of urgency to get past him if he has a little bit left. But he was patient before. How patient is he now if he's got a little more car?
He cannot afford to be patient. Like as I said before, this race is all about position. You need that position. You need to hold on to that position. And with racing here being very difficult, very tight, it may not be able to work. Now, that position may be said and gone, but that being said, Nick Ottinger's already won 3 of the races this season. Don't be surprised if he's going to try to make the push and try to make one more win on the season here at Pocono.
Not to throw another wrinkle in the fire, Joe, but I saw a little bit of a connection issue from Ottinger that last lap by, and we mentioned with this sim racing sport that we do very quickly here with a connection issue, you're connected to a race server, your computer's connected to a server, and if your computer connection ends up lagging a little bit, or there's a little bit of a discontinuous, as the number 2 car of Ray Alfalla, I believe, is gone as well. So the 05 and 2 having some issues here as they go through corner number 1. This is going to play into effect here as Ottinger goes up high. Alfalla is going to have to defend here. Oh boy, this is getting exciting coming down to the finish of this one. Ottinger drives it in hard to 2.
This is going to be a finish to remember. These guys are going to be talking about this finish for years to come. Here comes the 05, the 02, or the 2 gets in front of him. And now, as the caution is out, let's follow these the top 2 as they come back around. Ray Alfalla will be your leader when he hits the stripe. Nick Ottinger second, and that's going to set up for a very, very entertaining finish.
Brandon Schmidt and Michael J. Johnson bring out the caution flag, and Nim, I know you always don't want to be that guy that brings out the caution flag, especially after a long run like that, but Michael J. Johnson and Brandon Schmidt were dodging some bullets earlier, and it looks like they dodged each other, or attempted to dodge each other, and won, and it didn't work.
Yeah, the 3 car definitely pushed up into the 39 there of Michael J. Johnson, and Johnson went spinning through corner number 1 and 2. The 3 was able to miss him as he slid sideways, perpendicular to the grass through corner 1 and 2. The 3 car right there by his door on the brakes, trying to miss him there, was able to do so, but they're both back on their way. Nothing but a burnt set of tires, but it's going to set up an interesting finish here.
I think back to a couple of seasons ago at Martinsville, and Nim, you might be able to chime in on this as well. We had a restart with about 2 or 3 laps to go, and we had a big wreck at about 4th or 5th place. Not saying that will happen here, but we have seen a couple of restart games here this evening. Could we very well see it again?
I very much think we're going to. You know how these guys are. They were hungry and out of control in the beginning of this race. Here we are on the last couple of laps. We're going to have a restart to the end. I think, like we said before, whatever's not bent now, it will be.
And now the question is, I don't think we see any pit stops up here, at least in your top 5, but they're going to throw some fakes. Ottinger and Robert Hall are going to look at it, and a lot in your top 5 are going to look at it. Top 10, who's the first to come in here? Nobody outside the top 15 or so. I think somebody around Crone may have pit it. That was Matt Boos at 17th place, and I'm actually surprised there wasn't anybody else maybe in front of these guys that would have decided to come in, Nim, with a couple laps to go. Might as well come in and tape up and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing. Tape on this place, it's such a long lap that tape's not as easy as we might find at some other tracks. But tires is definitely an advantage. But you want to be up front. You're going to try to avoid the big wreck that's going to happen, or might happen. It's highly likely to happen. Or you go in and get tires, and you're trying to charge for the field, and you're probably going to be part of that issue. So it's a really tough choice. A lot of guys decide to stay out, see what happens, and this is what they're going to do.
Joe, I know our buddy Tony Stevens just wrapped up the summer shootout at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and there was a lot of racing action going on there. this evening. I want to send congratulations out to Kevin Foisey, Canadian driver, who won the Masters division out there this evening, and I'm sure he's getting ready to watch the finish to this race as we are. Alfala and Ottinger, your top two. Robert Hall, former winner of this series, in position number 3. Carson McClellan looking for something to happen here. And how about Brandon Cattell trying to get a first victory in this series? As the 80 car will start on the inside, he might have something here in the closing laps of this one. The 80 at Cattell will look to make something happen here, I'm sure.
Pace lights remain on, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're Ray Alfala, because that means time is running out. But that being said, when you do restart, as we will have a restart at this point, when you do have a restart, you are going to see the 05 on one side or the other of that number 2 machine. And then they're going to have to drag race. They're going to have to fight it out and try to figure out who's going to end up winning this race as a result of the hard driving between these two. This yellow flag, this restart will decide the race. Whoever gets the best jump off turn 1 is gonna win this race. Lights are still on. If we do have a restart, it will be an overdrive, green-white checkered finish.
Now, when we looked at last year, and I keep bringing this up between Ottinger and Sheehan, but it happened going down into corner number 1, 2 drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate, and I think we're going to see it here, because you're going to fight for corner number 1, and you're going to fight for that inside line right by those rumble strips. And if you are the leader, Ray Alfala, yes, you control the restart, and yes, you're going to try to pass the 05, but where do you make that move, and do you trust those guys behind you? If Robert Hall gets a great start, do you go to the inside? Do you try to block him? We'll find out in just a few moments' time. We're going to step away and bring you back to the restart.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
To Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Jack in the Box Summer Shootout and watch the NASCAR stars of tomorrow compete. This Monday and Tuesday nights feature Principal School Bus races. Lug Nuts, the world's fastest mascot, will be on hand, and all the action is captured on the world's largest HD TV. Tickets are only $7 for adults, and kids 13 and under get in free with a paying adult. Gates open at 5 p.m. Get your tickets today by calling 1-800-455-FANS.
Welcome back to Pocono. Lights are off and we are going racing this time by. So here's a quick little recap. We'll go green on 98. These drivers will race back to the checkers if we get a caution on the final lap, or the caution I guess won't trigger on the final lap. If we get a caution between now and the start of lap 100, race is over, field's frozen, and the winner will be the driver that the sim scores as the leader on the last scoring loop. We'll see how how this all shakes out. It's Ray Alfala's race to lose as he's the leader. Nick Ottinger in second. Robert Hall, Carson McClellan, and Brandon Cattell your top 5. McClellan and Cattell have not won in this series before. Robert Hall has won 1 race in this series. Ray Alfala has yet to win this year. We'll see if Alfala can get the first win for Ford in this series. Pace car is off, and they're playing a couple of games on this restart. The 2 of Alfala is gone, and here comes Robert Hall with them. Robert Hall into position number 2. They dispatch Ottinger to 3rd, and they all shake up. Going down to the corner, Robert Hall to the outside. Oh, and he gets turned. Alfala and Ottinger side by side. Did the caution come out yet? And is Alfala up in front? We'll have to see.
Yellow is officially out at this point. The 30 of Robert Hall, the man who would be king, is going to go spinning, and that will bring out the yellow flag. Now the question is, who will the sim score as your leader when we go back to, when they all settles? Will it score Alfala or will it score Nick Ottinger as your leader? And more importantly, what's going to happen when the review takes place?
I believe, and I'm just judging off the pace car. The pace car lights are off, and he goes, and Alfala's the leader. Ottinger's nowhere near him, but then again, we had a race a couple of years ago at New Hampshire in the Pro Series where it was Ottinger and Kevin King as your top 2, and it appeared Kevin King was leading, but the sim scored it the last scoring loop and gave the win to Ottinger. It looks like here they come across the stripe and Alfala is scored as your leader, so it looks like Ray Alfala will go down as your winner, barring there's no running out of fuel or anything else happening to that number 2. Finishes under his own power. He'll be the winner here this evening, and it will be the first win for a Ford Fusion in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Ottinger will come home second. Brandon Cattell, Joey Brown, and Steve Sheehan scored as your top 5, and it's heartbreak for Robert Hall. And Nim, I know you've looked at the replay a couple of times. It's really a tough situation to call. Robert Hall goes from the inside to the outside, and it looked like he had the lead going down into the corner, but Alfala had that inside line and broke a little bit early, it looked like, for the corner, and him and the 30 come together, it looks like.
Yeah, Robert made a great move for the lead, a great restart, and was doing a fantastic job going down in the corner number 1, and I believe he had it. But when they went down in the corner number 1, he just, they both come down into the corner there, and maybe Robert just came down a little bit too much, and they touched, right front of Ray's car, the left rear of Robert's car, and that's Robert's car on and around. But it was real tight, close racing there. Robert was going for it. Ray, I think he held a right line, and I don't think he did anything real bad there, but. Robert went around, and that's you called it earlier, Tim. Another exciting finish here at Pocono.
And it happens with contact in corner number 1, and this time it's Ray Alfala coming out with the victory. This will be his first victory this season in this NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Keep in mind, he won the last 2 championships in this series back in 2012. He won 5 races, and that was after he won another 3 in 2011. And then back in 2010, he won some races as well. He won 1 race, so by my rough calculations, Joe, that would mean his 10th win is going to come here in this series, as long as he can hold on for another half lap.
As long as he can make this next half lap around the track, Ray Alfala will unofficially be scored your winner. This is 3 major milestones for everybody involved. Number 1, it is Alfala's 10th win as a Niswick driver. That's a huge milestone. I don't care who you are. That is a big milestone, and Ray Alfala has certainly earned it tonight. Number 2, it is his first win of the 2013 campaign. Coming into tonight's race, Alfala was scored, I believe, in the 4th position. Looking back, no, it's in 5th position. Check that. So this will be a huge boost to his search for the 3-peat championship. More importantly, though, and I think developmentally wise for Ford, this is their first official win in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Ford's first unofficial win came at the All-Star race, but this will be their first championship win. So Ford finally, after not 8 attempts, finds victory lane with a blue oval.
Alfala to victory lane, Ottinger, McClelland, Cattell, and Brown, your top 5. And the one thing we should mention, and I don't know if we caught it in the replay or not, but Brian Schoenberg went up over the fence in the corner to avoid that wreck, and he will finish one lap down at least in the number 55 car. After coming into this event second place in the standings, that's really going to hurt the 55. Tyler Hudson comes home in position number 12. Marcus Lindsay comes home 24th. Ottinger and Alfala come home second and first. So it looks like your top 3 in points finish outside the top 10 in the standings, and your Alfala and Ottinger, your 2 favorites possibly for a championship run this season, well, they're going to finish up in front, as Ray Alfala will light it up here on the front straightaway, your winner of round number 8 at Pocono. We are going to step away for just a few moments, and we will be back with your post-race show where we will talk to your top 5 finishers. Welcome back to Pocono, round number 8 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, and it's the first win for the two-time and defending champion and the first win for a Ford Fusion in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, and it was an exciting finish. Nim Cross has caught up with the Pro Geek Consulting Ford Fusion driver, Ray Alfala.
Down here with Ray Alfaro. Ray, the exciting finish there at the end. Tell us about the race down in turn one.
Yeah, well, I kind of jumped the restart a little bit and didn't want to get a black flag, so I backed off just a little bit, and that allowed Robert to get around me, and I protected the bottom into turn one. And then I went into turn one pretty much as deep as I could go, as I've been going all night up there, which was at the second Pocono littering on the wall, and he was at my rear bumper and almost cleared me into turn one. So it really caught me off guard how deep he went in there. I don't think I washed up. Last thing I want to do is just wreck him there, but I just hate that it ended that way. But just gotta give big thanks to my team, and especially Brad Davies. I pretty much ended up using his qualifying and race setup, and I wasn't really able to provide much feedback or testing time this week. So everybody bailed me out. I had a bunch of setups to choose from before the race. So thanks a lot to my team.
You had a good strong run there throughout the race. Tell us about the track and how your race went.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure what to expect before the race. I knew turn one was going to be difficult on the long run because the car bottoms out a lot, and indeed I felt that's where Nick was beating me. We had a really good race there at the end, and we were pulling away from third, and it was just Nick and I felt like he was so much stronger in turn one, and I could sort of hold my own in two and three. And then I messed up turn two one lap, and I could have blocked a little bit, but I decided not to, and then I decided to see if I could get him back, and he was pulling away, and then he got loose off three and let me get back by, and yellow came out, and I'm glad I didn't pit there because I really was considering pitting, and I think the top 15 stayed out. So it feels really good to get the first win. I was starting to doubt whether I could get a win again.
Well, you struggled early on this season. That was your number 10 win of your career, first one this season. But struggles this early this season. Looks like you're back on track now. As the last couple of races, you've had good runs. What are your thoughts about the rest of this championship?
Yeah, we've been just a little bit off on the car, but overall, I haven't run too bad. I think besides the two wrecks that happened early in the season, my stupid mistake last week, speeding and spinning on pit road, I think every other race has pretty much been a top five, but just haven't been able to get the win. And last year here I struggled quite a bit with the left front hitting the ground, and this year the car is totally different, it drives totally different, but it just feels really good to be back in victory lane. And I think next we're going to Kentucky, which is one of my favorite tracks.
Tell us about Kentucky and your setups there and how you feel that's going to work out.
Well, Kentucky is one track that I thought I was not going to like because I didn't really like it too much on NASCAR 2003, but that wasn't laser scanned, of course. And then when we got it on here, just the way the track is, it's got bumps, but they're not unbearable like Pocono is in turn one. So it's got pretty nice bumps to where the car gets upset if you miss your line, but it's not too bad, and you have to drive the car pretty loose all the time. And the bottom lane has basically less banking, so everybody runs like the second groove, and you can run a little bit in the third groove, and it's a very wide and sweeping track, and I enjoy racing there a lot.
Who makes it happen for your team?
Yeah, I got to thank Prokin Consulting and iRacing Brazil. Happy to get a win for them. First win of the season. Gary Mercer Trekking, Disabled Racers, the eye holder. I was dealing with the eye holder did its job, but I think my router changed its IP in the middle of the race or something, and the phone app works through Wi-Fi, and once the IP changed, the app stopped working, and the way I have my screen set up, I pretty much can't see my gauges, so I was going off sound to shift, and I couldn't see with temperatures or anything like that, and it was unnerving to say the least, but thanks to iHolder, the phone was still held on there pretty well. Tim's Corner, Hick and Jix, and JDR Graphics for painting the car. Also got to thank my biggest fans, so are my parents and everybody else watching. Harrison Weidelitz for being a spotter, got to thank him a lot. And again, of course, Jay Show and Drill Isle, and especially Brad for all the setup help this week. I really wasn't able to help much out at all, and it feels good to have a lot of support.
Well, that's your defending series champion, Ray Alfala, and we're going to send it up to Tim. I'm sorry, we're going to send it to Cortez, but your second place driver.
Looks like Joe has stepped out, so I'll get a hold of Nick Ottinger here, who finished in position number 2. That was a wild last 10 laps or so. First, talk about the battle between yourself and Ray Alfala. It seemed like you waited a little while to first make that move on Alfala to take the lead.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out where I can set him up, because I got a little air tight behind him in a couple corners, and I could be strong in 1 and 2, and he'd pull off a 3 good. But I tried to just set him up good, just by my time and find a place where I was better than him, and we found it, got by him, and just gave it away. Just got loose, and untimed caution pretty much cost us.
Let's talk about that restart, though. You had Ray Alfala to the inside, and you had Robert Hall making that charge. What was going through your mind down that straightaway and into the corner, and you see that 30-car spin?
That's exactly what I done. Just let him drive it in there, let them two be side by side, and just try to get a run off. But they made contact. I tried to gas it up and get the lead, and I think we missed it by a couple inches. But all in all, it was a good day. We showed a lot of speed, which I wish we had a couple more long runs than what we did. But it's product of Pocono sometimes. It was a fun race.
And after last year, and we brought it up a couple of times during the show, after last year and everything that happened, and I know you were so close this year, it seems like this track really owes you something. I know it's going to be a long 365 days or so before we get back here, but it just seems like Pocono owes you a little bit.
It gave me a little something tonight. It gave me a little taste of the lead, and I just made a mistake and just gave it away to Ray. It was a good race. I was right back there on him. I was trying to set him up again, but I was so good on entrance in middle of 1. He'd get off better because he'd back it up, but I was trying to find, I think the last 2 laps I found out where I could have made a pass in turn 1 and just let it roll. But just Costa came out wrong time, and it's a good points day.
And you mentioned points without the drop factored in. This will put you back to second in the standings behind Tyler Hudson by about 23 points. Add that drop in, you're pretty darn close to the lead. We head to Kentucky in 2 weeks' time. Have you done any testing there? What are your thoughts heading into that race?
We ran strong there last season. We were about a 3rd or 5th place car, and I think the Ray and Sheehan last season, and we I think we get something good. I ain't gonna promise nothing because we didn't put that much testing time in for Pocono, but I had a pretty good car from the start, and just that track suits me. So I think I can get something going good at Kentucky.
You got a lot of sponsors on the car, and I know you got a crew back there that helps you put together the setups each week and helps you do all kinds of testing. Who makes it happen for the 05 team?
Yeah, it's a real blast to be with all my teammates at Gale Force Racing. We got Dale Mears. He was spotting for pretty much everyone tonight, watching for the wrecks, and was pretty busy. Peter Fisher, who stepped in as crew chief, he's gonna step in a couple of next races here since Matt's at the summer shootouts. But he did a real good job tonight. Strategy was good. I want to thank everybody at my team, Gale Force Racing. I want to thank Ream. Gale Force Suspension Management. I want to thank Monster Energy, and just everybody. I want to thank Tim, this corner, Lane Sim Products. We got a couple more people coming on board, but hopefully we'll put it all together and not make mistakes this time.
There's your second place driver, Nick Ottinger, and Nim. It looks good in the points for the 05, but I believe you've caught up with somebody who's Also looking good in the points. 7th place unofficially coming out of here without the drop. It's your pole sitter, Carson McClelland.
Carson McClellan, as you said, it was a pole sitter for today's race, car number 24. Carson, tell us about how it went for you today.
It was pretty interesting today. First off, I got to thank Chris Crosby and Pat Baldwin for working really hard this week with me. We really put our heads together. Robert came in, and we all did our best to come up with something. And we had a good car. We had good setups to run up front. It all kind of got crazy, though, when everybody pitted at lap 6. I really expected people to prioritize the track position because, as you could see in the race, there were a lot of wrecks throughout the race, especially in the earlier part of the race. So it all got crazy there, but I just hung on and battled through and got really interesting there at the end. But it was a fun day. It's my first top 5 of the year, so my only one that came last year. My only top 5 last year came to the same place, so it's pretty cool.
You started on the pole and came through up to that first caution. You didn't take tires when everybody else pitted. How did that work out?
I think terrifying is the best word to use. But luckily, the caution laps are so long that the tires cool down, so I had a little bit of confidence, but it was really just all about staying relaxed and just running my race the best I could and just waiting for the fuel cycle to come back around to where we can all pit again and I can get close to the same tires.
Carson, you have Kentucky coming up in 2 weeks, Talladega after that. What are your prospects for Kentucky?
I would say close to the same as Pocono. Work really hard, keep digging, trying to find more speed for the cars. We're definitely lacking speed at the speedways, so we'll search a little more and try and get some good some good speedway speed. As far as Dega goes, we all know that's a wild card, and you just got to hang on and hope for a decent finish.
Tell us who makes it happen for you.
I got to thank Facet, Pure Later. I got to thank those guys for sponsoring me this year. It was a great deal having them come on board. And like I said, I got to thank Pat Baldwin, Chris Crosby for coming on late to help us out, Robert Hall, Matthew Moose, Art Lucas, all those guys at Sim Chassis. It's been a tough season, but we're continuing to push.
And there you have it from your third place finisher and pole sitter today, Carson McClellan. Congratulations, Carson. We're going to send it up to Joe Cortez, who's got that mic fixed, and he's going to be with your fourth place finisher, Joey Brown.
That's what I get for tripping over my own cable. Joey Brown following up his win at Charlotte with a fourth-place finish here at Pocono tonight. And Joey, it just seems like everything's going aces for you and your team.
Yeah, it seems, like I said, after the other week at Charlotte, I just feel like, I don't know, I just kind of got it and stick around till the end of the races, and it's definitely working. But yeah.
Everything seems to be working right now for you and your team. Coming into Pocono, did the confidence boost from your win at Charlotte help you guys at all?
Oh, definitely. The confidence was huge. I think that's a big thing, too. Like, the start of the season, I was just kind of nervous. And especially after Charlotte, I've definitely gotten my confidence up. And hopefully I get some better finishes in the future. The team's just been clicking really well lately. And it was a huge team effort at Pocono. It was definitely not one of my strongest tracks, and even though I was lacking the drive off compared to a lot of the other guys up front, I just track position the whole race, and it worked out for me.
You said it's a team effort coming into Pocono tonight. Tell us a little bit about that team effort, and what was your guys' plan to come in here? Was it to get that position early and hold on to it, or was it to let all the jitters run out in the first half of the race and then make a move the second half?
I think everyone had quite a different strategy. I mean, I didn't take left side tires the whole race, and I just wanted the track position up front because Pocono, I mean, you can get kind of those stints where it's just wreck after wreck, and it kind of worked out for me. It's really hard to pass, and just everyone's so even with the two tires, I was able to hold off people and keep my track position, and I think it definitely helped out. And, I mean, you can tell from my finish it worked.
So looking forward to the rest of the season now. You've got Kentucky in 2 weeks, Talladega in a month's time, and then the very flat Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For you and the rest of the team, what's the strategy at this point? You've got 3 very different tracks with 3 very different strategies. How do you manage this next stretch of the championship series?
Well, we've been really strong at all the mile-and-a-half tracks this season, really quick, and I think Kentucky will definitely be up front in Kentucky, at least hopefully. Pretty sure we could use the Charlotte base off of that, be quick. Talladega is the wild card. I mean, you go in, don't really know where you're going to end up, just kind of ride. And Indianapolis is definitely a fun track, another driver's track, so we'll see how that goes.
Joey, who makes it work for you and the team out there?
Barley Electric Company, they gave me this awesome sim cockpit, and my dad, the whole team, been working really well together, putting some great pieces out, and I mean, that's pretty much it.
Joey Brown unofficially finishing 4th on the field. We'll look to see what happens with you and the team 2 weeks from now in Kentucky.
Thanks.
Nim Cross is caught up with a man currently in 5th on paper. That's driver number 6 with Steve Sheehan.
5th place finisher Steve Sheehan brings her home tonight in the 5th place. Tell us about your race, Steve. Wound up a lot better than last year's race.
Yeah, I wound up a lot better than bunch of races this season. It was pretty good, pretty solid race. From my understanding, I will be placed back into 6th, so credit will be given to Brandon for having a solid race that he did. Brandon Kettle, that is. So props go to him. I will be finishing 6th, but I will take this as a technicality for the brief time that I'll have it. Pretty solid race. Had a really solid setup. Felt comfortable. Got a couple close calls. I messed up most of my pit stops, which is per norm. But it was a pretty solid race, honestly.
A lot of action there early on in the race. Were you close to any of that?
Yes, I was right where the wrecks were happening for that first half of the race when we were thinning out the field. I was around everyone, and luckily I was in the right line and in the right position to dodge them when I could. There was one on the restart that was relatively big where it kind of just the checkup went further and further back to the field as it does naturally, and I was right at the point where I had to check up. You know, it was the most fierce right where I was, and if I wasn't going to get turned, the guy behind me was going to get turned, and unfortunately I think it was Conti, so close calls, but got through them.
We're seeing a lot more consistency out of you this year, Steve. You're a top 10 in points. This will definitely move you up even higher into the points standing. What do you think about your prospects for making maybe a top 5 run this year?
I'm glad you noticed it. Unfortunately, I was so inconsistent last season that it's really tough to get more inconsistent. I still am I'm probably easily the most inconsistent driver in the series as far as my finishing positions, but it just shows you how competitive it is because those top 5s that I have gotten and top 7s or whatever they are, they're really enabling me to stay in the top 10 in points. And I think if I just get my head on straight, which I've been saying for about literally a year at least now, is if I can get my head on straight, I can make a run for a lot more than a top 5. I mean, it's just I just have to hit all my marks and have smooth races and finish where I should finish instead of screwing up at the end of the race and not sealing the deal. I think I should have a pretty good go at it.
Well, we're real happy to see you getting those good finishes this year. You're definitely one of the fastest drivers on the circuit. Tell us who makes it happen for you, and tell us about your prospects for Kentucky next week.
Kentucky feels good. I really have to thank, honestly, most importantly, right off the bat, I really have to thank Nick for giving me a lot of help this week. I've been testing with him, and he's really been giving me a little bit of guidance, and which is kind of odd, I know, coming from me. But I've been putting a lot of laps in, and testing for me has been quite a bit more rewarding the past couple weeks than it has been in a long time. So I really have to thank him more than anything else. And my sponsors, I really have to thank JDR for painting my car. I know it's plain blue now. Definitely looking for sponsors. Anybody who wants to be on a car that slides through their pit stall every single pit stop, just give me a holler. I'll throw you on the hood.
There you have it from Steve Sheehan, I believe it's going to be the 5th place finisher. We're going to send it up to Tim Terry with Brandon Cattell, or I'm sorry, Joe Cortez.
Guys, we're being handed a couple of changes to your finishing order as we speak. It's going to be Brandon Cattell that will finish on paper in 4th. Joey Brown will finish 5th. Steve Sheehan will finish 6th. This is all unofficially, so this is all subject to review and change. But as of right now, the unofficial finish for that 4th through 6th group is going to be Brandon Cattell 4th, Joey Brown 5th, Steve Sheehan in 6th, and I'm also being told the 91 of Josh Berry will be reviewed for a possible lane change violation, and his position is subject to change. So be sure to come back later in the week when we have all these points figured out officially. Meanwhile, the man unofficially being scored 4th, Brandon Cattell. Brandon, at first it didn't look like he had a top 5 finish there, but now we're hearing because of an error on a black flag, you're going to move up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It just on the cooldown lap when I went to pit road, it gave me a black flag and went and put me from all the way from 4th to 24th. I know I blinked or something on the last lap, but we had a good run. We had a fast car. I couldn't believe it.
Car seemed to be working very well for you out there on the field. What was the strength in this setup out here? How are you guys able to keep the car fast and moving forward all throughout the race?
If I tell you that, I'd have to kill you, but I don't know. No, it was just, I didn't take any 2 tires or anything. It was just, the setup was just fast. The front end had great drive off, cut through the center, just so good. It's hard work by all the team members. It's just amazing.
Brandon, I would certainly appreciate it if you didn't kill me out there. You started on this field way back towards the back of the field, 24th on this field. What was your strategy going through this race? Was this race about being patient and getting through the race, or was it more about making the moves work for you later on and letting everybody else get the jitters out at the top in the big first half of the race?
Well, I knew I was going to have to be patient there at the beginning there. I knew it was going to be pretty hectic and stuff, 4 wide going in the corners on the restarts. Once that first caution happened, I knew it was a perfect opportunity for me to take 2 tires and get up there because I knew the left side tires weren't wearing a lot. And then once I got 2 tires, still started to be patient, and then with about 50 laps ago, I started going hard and stuff and trying to work my way up to the front.
So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be meeting each other once again at Kentucky Speedway, a very tricky track in its own way, ways. Give us an idea of what it takes to transition from a very difficult race track like Pocono Raceway to Kentucky, which is difficult in its own different way.
It's not going to be that hard. Kentucky has a lot of bumps like Pocono, so that transition of just a bumpy racetrack, it's going to feel the same. I guess the key is just getting over those bumps and having good drive off, and you're going to be fast at Kentucky. Other than that, it's going to be pretty, I guess, an easy track compared to Pocono.
Brandon, who makes it work for you and the team out there?
Well, all the guys at Last Row Motorsports, Joey Brown, Peter Bennett, Lee Herron, so many people, RJ Williams, Landon Huffman. There's so many people. They make great setups. All of them work on the setup and do such a great job. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, Integra Roof Tile and Rubber Tail Roofing, and JDR Graphics. He makes some awesome paint schemes.
Brandon Cattell currently unofficially scored as 4th. We'll see where he scores at officially when all the points come down. Brandon, good luck to you at Kentucky in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Tim Terry's got a replay that's going to put the number 91 under review this week.
Yeah, this is what we're reviewing right now. Or not we're reviewing. It's the iRacing officials that are reviewing this, Shannon Whitmore and the team. You see Barry come up at a corner number 3. The rule is you're not allowed changing lanes until after the start-finish line. It's pretty blatant that Josh Berry comes up at a corner number 3 and goes to the outside of Tyler Hudson and goes to the outside of the drivers there as they are 3 wide coming across the line. And I can see why those drivers that were on the inside of Josh Berry might be questioning that position. And it's under review. All the results are unofficial until it hits the iRacing World Championship Series website later in the week, and we get everything settled away. And as we mentioned off the middle portion of the show, there might be a couple of drivers taking a vacation after a rough start to this race at Pocono, but nevertheless, it's win number 1 in the season for Ray Alfala, Nick Ottinger, Carson McClelland, your top 3, and they'll review all those things that need to be reviewed, and we'll have official results later on in the week. We do know that in 2 weeks' time, we're going to the Kentucky Speedway for the next round, round number 9. As soon as that race is over, we'll be halfway in this series, and we'll start to be able to figure out who really are the contenders in this series, and who's battling for a top 20 spot in the series, and who's battling for a little bit of pride at the end of this season. It's all going to start making sense coming up next week at the Kentucky Speedway, or 2 weeks' time at the Kentucky Speedway. That's going to do it for us here this evening. So for Paul Johnson, Zach Stanko, Ian Bushing, Ilka Hapola, Chuck Johnson, Matt Racing Kid Thomas, Nim Cross, Tony Stevens, who's out at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Joe Cortez, my name is Tim Terry, saying we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we say let's go racing from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.